A Korean reporter goes around asking a simple question. What would you do with 100 million won? You and I know how boring those replies get, so she switches things up. What if you were the richest person on earth? One lady says she would need to know where the cash came from first. Classic. Then we cut to a television studio where that exact same interview is playing on a screen. A journalist is interviewing the actual wealthiest guy on earth, and get this, he is incredibly young. She asks about the viral rumor that he can see the future, and that is, how he made his billions. On screen, he claims that is totally impossible, but inside, he knows it is a lie because he can literally see a shaman right there, magic swirling all around her. He is the only person who can see it, so for the cameras, he just pretends he is a lucky investor. Nothing crazy. And then bam, it was all just a weird dream. Jinwoo wakes up, his real, incredibly broke life. He is fresh out of the military, totally unemployed, and living in a tiny basement apartment with his mom. Oh, and he keeps dreaming about an eagle. Talk about random. Times used to be great when his dad ran a solid business, but those days are history. Later, he goes to visit his buddy, Taeku, who is busy geeking out over his action figure collection. These two have been best friends since high school. Jinwoo tries to keep his chin up, pointing out that, despite being broke, he got into a top university and will land a killer job. He even thanks Taeku for hanging out with his mom last Christmas while he was stuck on base. Sensing that his buddy is a bit depressed, Taeku decides to drop some massive news. He finally found the password to a crypto account he lost ages ago. Jinwoo remembers this perfectly. Taeku cried like an absolute baby when he lost it, especially since he had literally sold his high-level gaming account just to buy those coins. Taeku found the login on a random scrap of paper, and as of yesterday, the coin price was crazy high. Jinwoo does some quick mental math, realizing that must add up to a sweet fortune. His buddy grins and confirms it. The account balance is currently 13 billion won. Taeku admits he thought it was a prank too, but he is dead serious. The only issue is he cannot touch the money just yet. He transferred it to an exchange platform first. Jinwoo is green with envy, totally regretting that he did not take that game seriously back then. But then, a brilliant idea strikes him. They used to play together, right? He reminds Taeku that they sold their accounts as a team, so, technically, he deserves a sweet cut of that mountain of cash. But right in that moment, Jinwoo spots it again. The eagle, only this time, he is wide awake. Why on earth is it here? The bird glides closer, and yeah, this is no normal eagle. It glows with spiritual energy, but only he can see it. His terrified face completely freaks out Taeku, who is just staring at blank air. Shaking it off, Jinwoo randomly asks what he knows about Mountain Hill. Taeku is utterly baffled. That is the exact crypto exchange he uses. How could Jinwoo possibly know that name? Well, Jinwoo just saw a flashing vision of Mountain Hill completely crashing down, and he knows the eagle caused it. If this premonition is real, his best friend is about to lose every single penny. He screams at Taeku to sell everything right now. No waiting. Taeku is obviously panicked, but Jinwoo begs him to just trust him and explain later. Taeku mentions his sister already set up a foreign account to withdraw the funds, so he can pull it out there. But he warns Jinwoo that he better have a fantastic explanation when this is done. As Taeku frantically clicks away, the spectral bird fades into thin air. Jinwoo hopes this means he saved his friend, though he still has no clue what is happening. Suddenly, Taeku lets out a loud gasp. The entire exchange server just crashed. He sold everything literally in the nick of time. That is all the proof Jinwoo needs. He is not losing his mind. The warning was real. Minutes later, the site comes back online, but every single account has been completely wiped. Taeku turns to him, pale as a ghost, asking how he knew. Jinwoo is equally shocked, but lying is not going to work here. He looks his buddy in the eye and drops the truth. He can see the future. Flashback to a year ago, when he was still serving in the military. During a routine drill, he spotted that bizarre eagle for the very first time, putting him on edge. Even stranger? Nobody else in his squad saw it. They thought he was losing his mind. Then, a terrifying premonition hit him like a truck. An explosion was about to happen. He saw a mortar crew prepping around and realized that was the danger. He was highly skeptical of this weird vision, but his gut screamed at him to dive for cover. Because he moved, he survived the disaster. Cut back to today. Taeku hears the story and laughs it off, saying it was just crazy luck. But Jinwoo shakes his head. Without that warning, he would have been blown to pieces like the rest. He explains that the military doctors brushed the eagle off as a hallucination, some post-traumatic stress tricking his brain, but Taeku points out that twice makes it a pattern, not a fluke. Jinwoo agrees, but he is shocked his friend believes him so quickly. Taeku's logic is actually pretty hilarious. The guy has watched way too much anime to doubt real-life superpowers. With that out of the way, Jinwoo gets straight to the point. He wants his share of those billions. He reminds Taeku that selling his own gaming account actually funded that original investment, so he is legally owed. Taeku agrees, but says there is a giant catch. Taxes. Jinwoo, being an economics major, jokingly asks if he is setting up a secret tax haven. Turns out, absolutely. Taeku explains that tax on his billions would be insane otherwise, so to dodge that, he opened a shell company in America called OTK Company, a literal, personal tax haven. He plans to retire early and just live off the interest forever. Jinwoo knows tax laws are not that simple, but whatever, he just wants his cash. Taeku swears he will pay up, letting him breathe a huge sigh of relief. Soon after, he checks his balance and sees a sweet transfer from Taeku. It is just a down payment though. The rest is coming once the shell company paperwork is fully settled. Still, Jinwoo walks out of the bank grinning. He finally has the funds to support his mother and buy some nice clothes. He heads straight to a luxury mall, but immediately spots a huge scene. A snobby woman is screaming at a store cleaner for allegedly scuffing her precious shoes. The manager tells the worker to just apologize to keep the peace. But Jinwoo freezes when he looks closer. That cleaner is his own mother. He is absolutely devastated watching her get publicly humiliated like this. She always told him she worked a quiet office job, hiding the truth. He rushes in right before she is forced to her knees. He loudly asks what could possibly justify forcing a human being to kneel and beg over a tiny scuff. The Karen screams, demanding to know who he is to interfere. Jinwoo stands tall and says he is her son. His mom tries to hide in embarrassment, but he is proud of her. The wealthy lady is stunned but refuses to back down. She shrieks that the dirty mop touched her shoe, and that is why she wants an apology. Jinwoo is disgusted by her cheap power trip. She sneers that her designer heels cost 600,000 won, way more than a janitor could ever make. So, Jinwoo whips out 600,000 won in cold cash. He orders her to apologize to his mother, take the money, and get lost. Noticing bystanders filming, she swallows her pride, mutters a fake apology, and snatches the cash. Before walking away, Jinwoo pulls the manager aside. He points out that since he paid full price for those shoes, they are legally his, and the manager needs to strip them off her feet. If she doesn't return them by tomorrow, he's filing a theft report. Just like that, he walks away, leaving her absolutely fuming. Outside the mall, his mother is standing there, looking super anxious, saying she needs to go back and apologize to keep her job. But Jinwoo just pulls her into a warm hug, noticing how thin she's gotten. He declares she is officially retired. From now on, he's handling all their bills. Tearfully proud, she praises how much her boy has grown. Soon, they head to a restaurant where Jinwoo reveals he's making some serious cash through crypto, so she can finally relax. But classic moms being moms, she refuses his cash, telling him to save it for college. Of course, our main character insists on helping her. His first priority? Moving out of their moldy apartment, which is definitely causing her terrible cough. Even with her protesting every step of the way, Jinwoo is set on giving her a luxury upgrade. She sighs, muttering that he's just as stubborn as his old man. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. It's his buddy Taeku, calling with a massive emergency. His scary sister is officially back in town, and he desperately needs Jinwoo's help. Cut to a flashy supercar pulling up to a luxury hotel, leaving Jinwoo dying of pure secondhand embarrassment over his friend's loud, tacky taste in rides. Shaking off the cringe, they head inside, immediately bumping into Oh Hoonju. She's surprised to see Jinwoo after so long, so they all grab a table to catch up on life. Soon, Hoonju drops the news that a cushy job at Golden Gate is waiting for him after graduation. He smiles at the offer, but senses her underlying stress when she suddenly mentions the bankruptcy of Mountain Hill. She wants to know if her brother is financially ruined. Jinwoo eases her mind, explaining they sold off all assets right before the crash. Hearing this, a huge weight lifts off her shoulders. To show her appreciation, she slides over the contact info of their Gangnam branch manager. She advises Jinwoo to bypass the regular channels and route all his domestic transactions directly through him. She explains she's only in town for a 10-day audit. Suddenly, her phone rings, and she steps away to answer it. With her out of earshot, Jinwoo turns to his friend with a burning question. Why was he so terrified of meeting his own sister? Taeku confesses she is just way too intimidating. When she returns, Hoonju apologizes, looking incredibly tense and serious. Taeku guesses the call was about the oil company, and she confirms it. Tomorrow, the big OPEC meeting results are dropping. Hearing that word, OPEC, triggers something wild inside of Jinwoo. The majestic spirit eagle manifests, delivering another legendary vision. The prophecy is clear, an agreement to slash oil production. Snapping back to reality, He casually asks her what the meeting is about. She confirms they are discussing production cuts, matching his vision perfectly. She drops some wisdom. Gold and oil run the world. Everyone wants them, particularly the United States, the ultimate power buyer. Even though they aren't the top producer, the shale revolution changed the entire global market dynamics. There is just one catch. Producing shale is insanely expensive compared to traditional crude oil. Now, over half of those shale businesses are predicted to go completely bankrupt. That is why OPEC holds these frantic emergency summits. Everything hangs in the balance, and decisions happen fast. Playing it cool, Jinwoo suggests this OPEC agreement might not play out the way everyone expects. When surprised, Hoonju asks why he thinks that, he just attributes it to simple gut feeling. She's impressed, but reminds him that intuition is no substitute for cold, hard data. After parting ways, Jinwoo sits in the car, realizing that if his vision is correct, oil is booming. We're talking oil prices skyrocketing through the roof. If he buys futures now, he'll make a fortune. Every single prophecy has hit the bullseye so far, so this one is a guaranteed jackpot. Except for one tiny detail. He only has $275 left in his bank account. Is going all in on a vision really smart? Meanwhile, Taeku asks why he acted weird. He straight up asks if Jinwoo had another crazy vision. Admitting his friend's instincts are sharp, Jinwoo spills the beans about the OPEC deal that's about to shake up the entire market. Taeku instantly gets the picture. They have to buy oil. But then he drops the most hilarious, basic question ever. Where are they going to store all those giant barrels of oil? Back at Taeku's place, Jinwoo explains that oil isn't just fuel, it's a foundational material for almost every industry. Taeku then transfers over the rest of the cash he owed our hero. Step 2. Buy on the New York Stock Exchange. Jinwoo wants to play it safe with just $300,000. But Taeku, this absolute madman, wants to drop $10 million instead. Jinwoo warns him that this is an insanely risky gamble, but Taeku has unconditional faith in his friend's magical eye. In his mind, there is absolutely zero chance of losing, so Jinwoo tells him to go wild. For himself, he's sticking to a cautious strategy. If it pays off, he makes good money. If it tanks, he won't lose his life savings. With no reasons to hesitate, he locks in the trade. While waiting for the OPEC news, Jinwoo house hunts and secures a beautiful, newly renovated 2-bedroom villa for 120 million won. It's spotless and sunny, and his mom is over the moon. Jinwoo reflects on their past, remembering how every previous move forced them to downsize and lose memories of his late father. But this time, she kept a treasured box of keepsakes. Her ultimate dream was always homeownership. In fact, his father had bought a plot of land to build on right when Jinwoo was born. She emotionalizes, wishing his dad could see the amazing man their son has become. But Jinwoo tells her this is just the beginning. They still need to furnish the place with new appliances. He insists she take a 3-month vacation to rest her body. To ensure she actually does it, he hands her a bank book with 100 million won loaded onto it. He tells her to splurge, but she scolds him instead for blowing cash like a lottery winner. She claims she has plenty of savings and begs him to invest in his own future. Jinwoo refuses to back down. He slyly suggests she can just hold on to it as an emergency fund for him. Internally, though, he laughs. He is absolutely set for the next 20 years. Later, Taeku crashes the place with some delicious housewarming takeout, but as they're happily eating, Taeku drops a massive bomb. Mountain Hill has officially gone under after a devastating hack. The damages are in the billions, completely erasing the brokerage and leaving every single investor penniless. Taeku points out that unlike banks, there is zero government backup for crypto. He is absolutely convinced Jinwoo predicting this is no coincidence. He thinks his friend has developed some sort of crisis-sensing anime superpower, and he's already coined the perfect name for it, Oracle's Eye. Jinwoo just rolls his eyes. He makes a deal. If the oil prediction comes true, he'll believe it. Otherwise, they drop the subject. But Taeku wants to make a bet. If he's right, he officially gets to call Jinwoo the Oracle's Eye. The next day, they are glued to the screen at Taeku's place. Jinwoo is sweating buckets, second-guessing his own vision. His anxiety spikes as the oil charts dip, showing immediate paper losses. Seeing him on the verge of a mental breakdown, Taeku suggests loading up a video game to distract him, but he can't focus. Red and blue numbers are violently flashing in his brain. After making an incredibly noob move, he gets roasted by Taeku, and from sheer mental exhaustion, Jinwoo literally passes out. A few hours later, Taeku violently shakes him awake. The OPEC results are finally out. Trembling, Jinwoo looks at the monitor to find his prediction hit dead on. He frantically tells Taeku to check their profits. Taeku opens the account and gasps. They just cleared a staggering 800 million won. But for Taeku, the massive fortune is secondary. His true victory is being right about Jinwoo's superpower. He finally gets to call Jinwoo the Oracle's Eye forever. Taeku is fully convinced his buddy is basically an Avenger, but Jinwoo remains completely unimpressed. After all, compared to flying or super strength is cool, but machines can easily replace that. Predicting the future, though? Not even the most advanced artificial intelligence can do that. Taeku starts listing all the insane possibilities: elections, sports, natural disasters, and more. He calls it a true awakening born from danger. But Jinwoo points out a massive catch. It does not work on command. If it did, he would have robbed a casino blind by now. But then, his buddy suggests a theory: maybe it only triggers for money. Since they were discussing cryptocurrency, Jinwoo argues that the first trigger was a military explosion. Taeku reasons that was a life or death exception, until he remembers the news. That disaster was actually tied to a massive military corruption scandal. The company's stock crashed hard right after. So, even that event was purely financial. Jinwoo has to admit he is not wrong, but points out almost everything is tied to money anyway. That gives Taeku a wild idea. He offers to invest his entire fortune if Jinwoo guides the trades. It is an incredibly tempting offer, but Jinwoo is terrified of losing his friend's hard-earned cash. Taeku insists he knows the risks and is ready to gamble. Still, our main character is not fully convinced. There is no proof his gift is flawless. What if it is just luck? He figures it is all about probability, high odds, but always a massive margin for error. Winning big one day and losing everything the next is just a bad plan. But Taeku refuses to drop it, begging his buddy to trust the process and to believe in himself. Jinwoo remains hesitant, but their debate is cut short by a sudden phone call. An old army buddy invites him out for drinks tonight. Jinwoo says he will try to make it. Soon enough, he arrives at the bar. He greets his old crew with a single rule: no talking about military life. Two pretty freshmen, Ji-hai and Shin-yui, are already waiting. Since another friend is running late, they start drinking. Jinwoo admits he is considering returning to college. They keep drinking while waiting for their senior. Finally, Jong E-hong walks in. He is thrilled to see Jinwoo back, and the two start catching up. Jong E-hong works in finance and notes the market is looking pretty shaky lately. Jinwoo asks if his job at the central bank is safe. He admits even veterans are sweating right now. He is thinking about moving to private equity. Korea has great entrepreneurs, but a major lack of serious investors to go toe-to-toe against massive foreign capital. Right then, Shin-yui gets a call. She was supposed to meet her close friend, Siona. Since she is here drinking, she casually invites Siona to join their table. Hearing that name makes Jinwoo freeze. The other guys instantly scold the clueless freshman, and right on cue, Siona walks through the door, stopping dead in her tracks. Seeing her ex-boyfriend face-to-face is a shock. They used to be a couple, and this is their first meeting since the split. Later, Jinwoo runs into her again, at a local coffee shop. It has been 2 whole years. He cuts straight to the chase, asking if she is still dating that wealthy senior, the son of a major developer. Jinwoo heard rumors about their relationship right after he enlisted. Siona confirms it, but she looks miserable. He realizes just how much she has changed since their dating days. The insecure girl he once knew is completely gone. She apologizes for dumping him, but he says it is ancient history. That is when Siona drops a bomb: she still likes him, because he was always the one person she trusted. She confesses that leaving him for a wealthy guy was incredibly selfish, but she felt she had to secure her dream, to be highly successful. And just like that, she walks away. Watching her leave sends Jinwoo down a dark memory lane of losing his father and facing absolute poverty. They could not even afford a proper funeral. Her dumping him during that tragedy was a brutal blow. With 0 choices left, he enlisted, leaving his poor mother behind. But things are different now. Thanks to Taeku, he is sitting on billions of won from successful investments. Yet, having 13 billion won does not bring him any real peace. What does true success even mean? As he contemplates his life, the majestic spirit eagle manifests once more. This time, its presence is incredibly intense, bordering on overwhelming. A sudden, powerful vision flashes before his eyes. He instantly realizes that just like before, this future is bound to happen. Without wasting time, he heads to Taeku's place. He wakes his sleepy friend up, declaring that together, they are going to achieve ultimate greatness. The next morning, Jinwoo wakes up with a killer hangover. Taeku explains that he stumbled in completely hammered. Jinwoo only remembers blurry fragments of the eagle's vision and swearing an oath. He points out that Taeku only got lucky with cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, Jinwoo has actually dabbled in the stock market before. He confesses he once invested 1 million won and lost half of it immediately, which scared him off. Taeku admits his financial knowledge is limited, but he is sitting on a mountain of cash. Jinwoo explains the massive leverage that kind of capital gives them in the market. To turn 10 million into 100 million requires a 1,000% return. But with 10 billion, a simple 1% return is enough. That is the true power of capital. Iku is incredibly hyped, treating it like a video game, but our main character disagrees. Investing safely requires his supernatural visions, and they are completely unpredictable right now. He must figure out how to trigger the ability on demand. He spends his days studying financial reports and tracking stocks, slowly getting a real sense of the market. But the spirit eagle remains silent, suggesting it only awakens for earth-shattering economic shifts. Always the optimist, Taeku suggests they should draft an official partnership contract. He proposes a straight 50-50 split of all profits. Jinwoo easily agrees. Right as they are talking, his phone rings. It is Shin Yui, the gorgeous freshman from last night. Sounding incredibly shy, she drops an unexpected question, asking him out for coffee. The very next day, Jinwoo finds himself waiting for her. She beams, thanking him for coming. He cannot help but notice she looks like a literal pop idol. Playing it cool, he claims he was just in the neighborhood anyway, then casually asks the reason for her invitation. Shin Yui explains she wanted to apologize. She feels awful about her friend ruining the party with awkward drama. She mentions how excited she is that they will be on campus together. Jinwoo is caught off guard. Having a gorgeous girl act this forward is a rare treat. But then, the punchline hits. She asks him for a quick favor regarding a new phone purchase. Ah, the classic troll. She is not interested in him at all. He is just her free tech support guy. Shaking it off, they head into a nearby electronics store. As she browses, Jinwoo decides to check out some new models for himself. The exact second his hand touches a display phone, the spirit eagle flashes with a simple warning. This phone is about to be discontinued. He is confused by the message, but plays it cool when Shin Yui notices him staring. Inside, he is incredibly relieved his powers still work. They walk out of the store with her new purchase in hand. Jinwoo cannot help but tease her that this exact model will be dead on the market in no time. She demands to know his source. He quickly backtracks, laughing it off as a silly joke, before making a sudden escape. Shin Yui is left totally disappointed. Forget lunch. Jinwoo is sprinting straight to his bestie's house like his life depends on it. He knows Taeku bought the exact same phone and needs to warn his precious friend right now. Taeku lays down the tech gossip. Samsung rules the budget kingdom, but Apple is the king of luxury. To fight back, Samsung dropped their ultimate shiny weapon, the L6, and it is selling like crazy in Korea. Jinwoo is completely baffled. Why throw away a cash cow? Taeku guesses it is a patent war because these giants love suing each other, but Jinwoo points out that tech giants usually just pay the fine and keep rolling. So, our two geniuses spend the entire night together in a room, desperately trying to crack the code. The explosive truth hits them literally the next morning. Taeku wakes Jinwoo up screaming that his brand new phone just blew up while charging. Talk about a wake-up call. He had it for less than a week, and it is already a bomb. Right then, eyes locked, they realize their long night of searching is finally over. Naturally, they start digging online and find a whole army of angry users with the same issue. Taeku realizes the tech giant is trying to hush everyone up with fat hush money. He figures this disaster is massive. With so many phones sold, this fiery trend is about to go viral. Our hero is absolutely sure a massive recall is coming. Now it is just a game of perfect timing. The next day, Taeku gets a surprise knock on the door. It is a company technician sent to inspect the damage. They offer him a sweet bribe to keep his mouth shut online. This seals the deal on the cover-up. At this rate, the phone is history. Our brilliant main character calculates that killing this product will destroy their profits by 40%. It is not time to buy, folks. It is time to dump. The tiny problem? They do not actually own any stock to sell. But Taeku has a cheeky plan. Short selling. He explains the magic trick. You borrow stocks, sell them high, then buy them back cheap when the market burns. Pure profit. Our boy Jinwoo starts doing the math. Even with a total recall, the stock might only drop 30%. With their 13 billion won, that profit is just too boring. Jinwoo wants insane returns, which means calling in an estado, expert in risky derivatives. Taeku suggests hiring his genius sister, but Jinwoo knows she would absolutely murder them if she found out what they were plotting. So, who next? He suggests a different legend. Park Sang-yop, the president of the elite investment club. Sure, the guy is a total weirdo, but nobody can deny he is a pure math genius. This guy grew up in Australia but was so ridiculously smart he got into a top Korean university for math. He noticed a tiny tech company whose market predictions were suspiciously flawless. He did not hesitate. He threw every penny he had, even his rent money, straight into their stock. He had to beg to crash on a friend's couch. But then, the stock skyrocketed. Within 2 months, he was a self-made millionaire. He kept winning, eventually starting his own exclusive investment circle. And that is exactly where Jinwoo first met him. Now, Jinwoo and Taeku sit down with the legend himself. But Park Sang-yup casually drops a bomb. He lost a fortune, is deep in debt, and is basically working to survive. Jinwoo realizes anyone else would be crying in a corner right now. But this guy talks about bankruptcy like he is ordering coffee. Cutting the small talk, Jinwoo asks him about making some real money, specifically the difference between futures and derivatives. The math whiz explains that futures are just locked-in contracts. You agree on a price and you are committed, win or lose. But derivatives? Those are options with an expiration date. There is a buyer and a seller, and the buyer gets all the power. The seller looks like a victim, but they actually win way more often because they set the rules. To prove his point, the math genius lays out a crazy scenario. A super high-risk put option. Drop 1 billion won, and you could walk away with 9 trillion. But he warns that this almost never happens because the market is rigged. Wait, actually bad news is always lurking. When disaster strikes, those cheap options explode hundreds of times in value, and the seller has to pay up. That is all Jinwoo needs. He drops his insane plan. He is going to short the biggest tech giant in Korea. He tells the expert their shiny new phone is a ticking bomb and about to be cancelled. But where is the proof? Jinwoo obviously cannot say he has cheat codes, so he offers nothing. The genius warns him that this kind of gamble will ruin him. Jinwoo just smiles. He thanks him and leaves. He has all the secret ingredients now. Back at the apartment, Jinwoo lays out the master plan to his bestie. 70% in high-risk options, the rest in heavy short selling. He explains that while the public thinks these exploding phones are just bad luck, he sees a dark pattern. For now, though, the market is totally asleep. Everyone is super chill because there is zero official panic. So, our hero Jinwoo starts calculating his odds. If the stock climbs, he is going to bleed cash fast. But if those phones keep popping, jackpot. After running the numbers, he pulls the trigger on those options. His entire life is now riding on this stock crashing hard. He bets almost all their cash on this crazy gamble. Now, the agonizing wait begins. Days crawl by, and things immediately go wrong. The stock just keeps climbing higher and higher. The phone launches globally to rave reviews, and Jinwoo's nerves are absolutely fried. The clock is ticking. If his prediction is off, they lose every single penny. The sheer anxiety is eating him alive. The crushing weight of their entire fortune is on his shoulders. Even his sweet, supportive bestie Taeku is starting to panic. But then, the universe answers. A massive news story breaks. More exploding phones are reported, and this time it is not just a few. It is an absolute flood. Samsung blames faulty battery suppliers, but the fireballs just keep popping. The situation is completely out of control. Finally, they are forced to take the ultimate, desperate step, a historic worldwide recall. Our boys watch the news with jaws dropped. Millions of phones are being sucked back in. Samsung is losing a mind-boggling fortune on every return. But wait, they plan to patch the batteries and resell them as refurbished units. Unbelievably, after the recall announcement, the sliding stock actually starts to bounce back, closing down only 1.5%. To please investors, they announce sweet quarterly dividends. It is a masterclass in PR that completely ruins Jinwoo's short strategy. But Taeku is still his #1 fan, completely trusting Jinwoo's prediction. Jinwoo, however, is having a major crisis of faith. Is his cheat code luck finally running dry? Stressed out of his mind, Jinwoo tosses and turns in bed all night. His loyal roommate wakes up from the rustling and suggests a midnight beer to soothe his soul. As they share a drink, Jinwoo sighs that he only got one prediction right. The phone is toast. He looks at Taeku and asks if he hates him for losing their money. Taeku just smiles. He was the one who dragged them into this anyway. He still believes in his boy. It is just a matter of time. Jinwoo, though, completely hopeless. A week passes, and Samsung stores are absolutely packed with people returning old phones and buying brand new ones. Their stock starts climbing back up at lightning speed, and as it rises, Jinwoo's losses grow into a massive monster. His short sales help a tiny bit, but Taeku has officially lost almost every single penny they made. Bitcoin. Jinwoo knows that even with his small savings, this is going to get incredibly ugly. He wishes he listened to Park Sang-yup, but Taeku has zero regrets. He has been broke before and can easily handle it again. Meanwhile, high in the sky, a plane is in serious trouble. A smartphone just exploded mid-flight, putting everyone in danger. Worse, it was a replacement model issued right after the official recall. This proves the issue was never the battery like the company claimed. Back on the ground, Jinwoo suddenly wakes up with a start. He had a bizarre dream about the eagle. He tells his friend that in 4 days, something massive will happen to Samsung stock. After waking from that terrifying nightmare, Jinwoo is still totally on edge. The vision felt way too real to ignore. Convinced it was no ordinary dream, he and Taeku start digging into the Samsung case again. Right away, things do not add up. The company blamed everything on defective batteries, but certain details still bother Jinwoo, especially since new reports of explosions are still popping up even after they did a full battery replacement. Now the airplane incident is making major headlines, and airlines are banning the device on every flight. With their stock price in freefall, the executives call an emergency meeting. The vice president takes charge, admitting to the board that they still have no idea what is causing the explosions. The other directors argue over whether to just continue the recall, or if they need something much bigger. That is when the vice president brings up a wild idea, starting with a philosophical concept, the ship of Theseus. He explains the old experiment. If you replace every single part of a ship, is it still the same ship? The idea is that the essence remains. Still, this comparison leaves everyone completely confused, so he spells it out. Despite the upgrades, they are still Samsung at their core. But if they lose public trust, no amount of change can save them. Lost money can be recovered. A ruined reputation is gone forever. And in that tense moment, they make a radical decision. The giant company will completely halt all sales and exchanges of the L6. A spokesperson delivers the shocking news. When Jinwoo hears it, he is stunned. His wild prediction actually came true. The phone is officially discontinued. The fallout is catastrophic, with estimated losses hitting 50 trillion won. It is worse than the financial crisis from 20 years ago. Before this disaster, Samsung was loading up on put options through Golden Gate. But the crash was so brutal that even Golden Gate took a massive hit. Yet, an analyst spots something incredibly strange. Someone bought massive shares right before the crash, and they were not shorting it. A furious major shareholder orders his people to find this mystery buyer immediately. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and his buddy are just trying to process what happened. They stand there in absolute silence. Then, reality finally hits. They realize exactly how much cash they are about to rake in. The profit margin is absolutely insane. And trust me, you and I would celebrate just as hard. Sometime later, Taeku finishes running the numbers. Their total stock profit is 685 billion won. Jinwoo notes they just missed a trillion. Right on cue, Taeku, as half of that mountain of cash belongs to Jinwoo. It is a surreal thing to hear. Not long ago, he was a broke, unemployed ex-soldier. Now, he has more money than he can even process. He feels a bit guilty taking it, especially since his vision almost led them into ruin. But Taeku insists it was Jinwoo who made this happen. A 50-50 split is the only fair way. Jinwoo realizes he has found a truly loyal friend, someone who would never dream of screwing him over. But thinking about his close call, he knows he has to be much more careful. He has no clue what the future holds. The smartest play is keeping his gift a total secret. Taeku is the only ally he can trust. While his friend celebrates their massive windfall, Jinwoo feels a little dirty making money off a national crisis. Taeku reminds him they did not cause the phones to blow up, but Jinwoo still feels uneasy. Samsung crashed hard while global rivals made billions. Taeku tells him to stop overthinking and just enjoy the win. Besides, they have a massive roadblock ahead. If Taeku transfers Jinwoo his share legally, taxes will absolutely destroy them, and cash is out of the question. Jinwoo admits this is a luxury problem he never expected. Taeku is already itching to reinvest for a bigger payday. But Jinwoo warns him that as your capital grows, the game gets way more dangerous. Secretly, Jinwoo knows that he has earned enough to retire comfortably right now. But can he really just walk away? Especially since he just had another insane vision, one he has not shared yet. Jinwoo tells Taeku he is writing this to the very end, but gives him an out. Let's see if Taeku takes it. Of course not. He's in all the way. Then he drops his genius plan for the cash. He already set up a company called OTK in Delaware. That state offers major tax loopholes, allowing them to bypass the Korean tax authorities. Taeku then asks for their original contract. Without warning, he rips the document to shreds. He says a 50-50 split is history. Instead, they must renegotiate to 80-20. Jinwoo freezes, feeling completely cornered and betrayed. But then Taeku smiles. He is taking the 20%. The 80% goes straight to Jinwoo. Utterly baffled, Jinwoo asks why he would do something so crazy. Taeku explains the game has changed. Before, Taeku had the money and Jinwoo had the visions. But now, Jinwoo has his own massive capital to play with. A 50-50 split would actually rob him. Taeku says his best investment is not in some random stock, but in Jinwoo himself. Whatever he sacrifices now is peanuts compared to their future together. Besides, he is already filthy rich. Taeku is totally confident that going all in on his friend is the right play. He adds that with an 80% stake, Jinwoo needs to run the company operations. Since he is already studying business, he is the perfect fit. Just like that, Jinwoo becomes the CEO of OTK. He feels incredibly ashamed for ever doubting his friend. He realizes trusting Taeku was the best choice of his life. As the year winds down, Taeku asks Jinwoo what he did for Christmas last year. Turns out, Jinwoo was stuck shoveling snow in the freezing military. He asks Taeku the same. Taeku spent it with his mother, so she would not be lonely. Switching gears, Jinwoo asks Taeku to wire a clean 800 million won to his Korean bank account. He wants to handle his taxes cleanly. Taeku pulls up the banking info and asks what the cash is for. Jinwoo smiles, saying he is going to buy his mother a Christmas present. He walks into a real estate office where the agent instantly mistakes him for a broke student looking for a cheap room. But Jinwoo corrects her. He is here to buy. The agent is stunned, warning him that local properties can go for up to 1 billion won. Jinwoo simply points across the street, asking how much that beautiful house costs. She replies, a property like that is around 600 million won. Jinwoo says he will take it. Realizing he is dead serious, the agent offers to find other listings, but Jinwoo refuses. He wants that exact property. The agent has to break the news that it is not for sale. Jinwoo asks if the owner would change their mind for a massive premium. He then pulls out a massive bag of cash, offering to throw an extra 200 million on top. He asks if that will do it. The house belongs to Kim Mi-ha, and owning it was her dream. But, alright, you and I are starting today with a classic case of instant regret. Kim Mi-ha bought a 20-year-old building that quickly turned into a money pit. But then, an agent calls with a wild offer. Some rich guy wants to buy her worthless house for an insane price. Instead of celebrating, Mi-ha immediately gets suspicious. She thinks, if they are offering this much, the place must be a gold mine. So, she acts playing hard to get and tells them she will think about it. Her husband begs her to just take the cash and run, but Mi-ha has other greedy plans. She calls back demanding a full 1 billion won. But, oops, greed backfires. The agent says the buyer already walked away to look at a cheaper property instead. Panicked, Mi-ha begs the agent to bring him back, terrified of losing her big break. Luckily, a few days later, the agent calls with great news. She managed to convince him. The buyer is willing to make a down payment if she accepts immediately. Mi-ha happily agrees. But then, the agent drops a bomb. Can she move out by Christmas? Mi-ha instantly hesitates. She complains she has nowhere to go on such short notice. But when the agent mentions an extra 20 million won for leaving by December 25th, Mi-ha's tune completely changes. Suddenly, she can pack up in 24 hours. Meanwhile, our main character Jinwoo is thrilled. This was his childhood home from back when his father was alive. Sure, he overpaid, but who cares? He just wanted to surprise his mother for Christmas. The real estate agent congratulates him on the sale, but asks out of pure curiosity why he wanted this exact rundown place. Jinwoo gives a vague response, and she gets the hint to drop it. Walking through the festive streets later, seeing families shopping for gifts, his mind drifts back to his own family. He looks at an old family photo on his phone. This home was his way of bringing those memories back. Keeping that to himself, he calls his mom to say he is on his way. Later on, Jinwoo announces they are going out for a fancy dinner, with his rich best friend Taeku acting as their personal chauffeur. His mom asks where, but Jinwoo keeps it secret. On the way, he gets a call from the freshman, Shin Yui. She does not play around. She demands to know how he predicted her phone model was about to be discontinued. He tries to act dumb, but she is not buying it. The prediction was flawless. Jinwoo hangs up quickly, claiming he is busy, only to see a text from Park Sanjo asking the exact same question. Okay, so his future predictions are turning into a major headache. But he has bigger things to worry about today. The car stops right in front of their old home, and his mom instantly freezes. Overcome with emotion, she says they should leave, but Jinwoo urges her inside. She protests that trespassing on someone else's property is wrong, but walks into the empty house anyway. Memories of happier times flood her mind, but it is bittersweet knowing they do not own it anymore. Right then, Jinwoo smiles and pulls out the ultimate Christmas surprise. He hands her the official deed, proving he bought their home back. You and I can only imagine her shock as she tearfully asks how on earth he pulled this off. He explains he made some cash investing with Taeku and wanted to give back. She breaks down in tears of gratitude, but Jinwoo tells her no crying on a happy day. Then he spots Taeku crying too. He tells his buddy to dry his eyes before he ruins the mood. Later, Jinwoo tells his mom he is putting college on hold to focus full-time on his investments. His mom is definitely not thrilled, warning him not to throw his future away over a lucky streak. Still, she is glad he has a loyal friend, and Taiku quickly salutes. Taiku promises to protect Jinwoo from any trouble. Changing the subject, his mom worries about the repairs needed, guessing why the greedy previous owner sold it so fast. Jinwoo just smiles. He promises to handle all the remodeling so they can move in soon. Taiku chimes in to remind them they have a dinner reservation waiting, so they head out to celebrate. Jinwoo quietly promises his late father that he will take care of everything now, hoping his dad can finally rest in peace. A bit later, we see Jinwoo helping Taiku move. They needed a proper headquarters to scale their investment empire, so Taiku bought a massive house. He clearly spared no expense, claiming it is an essential business investment. He takes the first floor for office space and gifts the entire second floor to Jinwoo. But right after unpacking, Taiku is already dying to go on a shopping spree. Jinwoo asks if he is done spending money, but Taiku says it is about testing his financial limits. Jinwoo immediately knows this is just an excuse to buy anime figures. They head to a giant department store. A salesman greets them warmly, but Taiku ignores him until he spots a massive television. The absolute size of this thing is wild. The salesman explains it is Samsung's top-of-the-line model, and Taiku wants it immediately. One issue, it is a display model, not for sale. Taiku does not care. He demands to buy it anyway, along with a mountain of other high-end appliances. Stunned, the salesman asks if he wants a payment plan, but Taiku shuts him down. Cold hard cash? He jokingly claims he is just returning a favor to Samsung, so he buys their best product from literally every single category. Flexing at its finest, Jinwoo thinks his buddy went totally overboard, but Taiku insists he is just sharing his trading profits. Back home, Taiku goes full designer mode, transforming the entire space. He builds luxury gaming zones, remodels bedrooms, and designs a high-class office, declaring it will be their base of operations for setting up future massive business deals. Then he pulls out the official company registry. Looking at the official contract, reality finally sinks in for Jinwoo. They are now officially legitimate investment partners. Holding their first official meeting, Jinwoo points out some massive flaws in their strategy. He cannot control his prediction power, meaning he cannot just look into the future whenever he wants. His visions are vague and random. For example, if he sees a piece of land surging in value, he has absolutely no clue if it will happen next week or in 10 years. Plus, their own investments might alter the timeline, creating a butterfly effect that ruins everything. Taiku nods, realizing that messing with the future is indeed a massive risk. Natural disasters are predictable, but human greed is a wild card. He admits their Samsung play was highly risky. If the corporation had delayed their announcements, they would be broke. They would have been waiting years to see a return. He adds that if they buy up cheap land, developers might just cancel the whole project because of them. Taiku concludes that their only real option is to work hard and stay adaptable. Jinwoo notes his special power is starting to feel more like a sixth sense. He cannot control it, but he can feel it flowing. Taiku figures they just have to wait for the eagle's next vision, while Jinwoo secretly hopes for another major market crash. Predicting another national-level crisis like the smartphone recall would be ideal. But then he realizes such a massive economic hit would completely destroy the local financial market, leaving scars for years. But as he ponders this, a breaking news report catches his eye. He calls Taiku over as the anchor reveals Samsung is hunting down the mystery options buyer. Samsung suspects a foreign entity knew about the L6 defects, or even caused them. You and I can see they are now in the crosshairs of a massive tech giant. Sitting down to talk, they realize they can no longer treat this like a game. Jinwoo warns that their next moves must be careful, as they cannot afford to attract any more suspicion. The heat is on. Taiku argues they never expected things to blow up like this, swearing they did nothing illegal. But Jinwoo drops a truth bomb. It is all about perception. You are a genius when you make money alongside everyone else, but you are a villain when you profit off their pain. Taiku still claims they are clean, but Jinwoo warns him that nobody wins the lottery twice without causing suspicion. Now, you and I know they need a master plan. Short-term plays are way too loud, while playing the long game gives them a better shot at succeeding, even if the timing is a total wild card. Sure, global markets have crashed before, but they always bounce back stronger. So, unless another absolute monster of a financial disaster strikes, the smartest move is building long-term wealth. To pull this off, Jinwoo plans to turn their firm, OTK, into a massive holding company and start buying up other companies. Jinwoo drops a brand new playbook: buy chunks of high-growth startups, then take total control of the winners. The goal? Double their $670 million in just 3 years. Taiku is totally on board, thinking this sounds like a walk in the park. Jinwoo plans to scour the web and wait for his golden opportunity. But after endless hours of staring at a monitor with absolutely nothing to show for it, he feels like he is completely wasting his life. Luckily, Taiku brings in a mountain of physical paperwork, saving his eyes from frying on that screen. The next morning, Taiku wakes up to a wild scene. Jinwoo is buried in papers after pulling a brutal all-nighter, only to admit his golden eagle never landed. Even worse, they are barking up the completely wrong tree. While the big picture is solid, their execution is totally busted. Just buying tiny shares is not giving them the leverage they actually need. For massive billion-dollar giants, making money is guaranteed. But for tiny startups, the stock market is a total gamble. It either goes to the moon or crashes. Jinwoo realizes that managing their exploding cash pile is only going to get tougher. Taiku chimes in, suggesting they target global tech giants overseas. Jinwoo agrees it is a brilliant move, but there is a catch: they need global connections or a genius insider. You and I know that whatever business they choose, a stellar team is absolutely mandatory. Just then, Taiku's phone starts ringing. On the line, his sister is absolutely screaming, demanding to know why his entire apartment is cleared out. Taiku calmly reveals he moved and shares the new spot. Jinwoo laughs, saying the timing is actually perfect, since he wanted to meet Oh Hyunju anyway. But Taiku warns him that she is incredibly pissed off, so this is not a social call. Moments later, she bursts in, absolutely fuming. She scans the luxury pad and demands to know who owns it. Taiku casually drops that it is his new home, which completely triggers her. She demands to know where his massive fortune went. Taiku asks if this interrogation is the real reason she flew back to Korea. Hyunju explains that the massive Samsung crisis completely broke the local market, and a wild rumor is spreading about a mysterious player who bought an insane amount of put options right before the disaster. Shockingly, this player has an account at Golden Gate, her own firm. The trade was so monstrous, it single-handedly saved the Asian branch's quarterly profits. Knowing that shady shell corporations love using random three-letter names, she had a massive hunch. OTK was the prime suspect. Then, a colleague connected the dots, revealing he processed a transfer of over 10 billion won to an overseas account. Since Hyunju was the one who originally helped her brother open his account, she easily checked his entire transaction history. To her absolute horror, he had bet every single cent on Samsung put options. She demands to know what kind of game they are playing, while Jinwoo realizes she knows everything. Taiku, totally clueless, just shrugs and asks what the big deal is. Hyunju snaps back that because of his reckless stunt, the financial regulators have officially launched an investigation into Golden Gate. They want OTK's financial records and the real owners. She warns they are lucky for now, since her firm does not even have those details. Only the offshore tax haven has them, but playing hide-and-seek only works for so long against determined investigators. Sooner or later, the hammer will drop. She lays out the cold, brutal reality. OTK is suspected of using insider trading, or even worse, sabotaging Samsung's phones directly. For public companies, keeping secrets like this is a massive crime. Every investor has the right to know. Playing with dirty, non-public intel is highly illegal. If OTK's funds are declared criminal, the state will seize every single cent and put them both behind bars. Hyunju notes that without hard evidence, the state has no case, but she still demands to know how they pulled off this miracle. Jinwoo steps up, admitting he supplied the killer information, which instantly triggers her next question: how could he possibly know? He hesitates, driving her absolutely insane with rage. She threatens them both, saying if they keep lying, they are going straight to prison, and she will get dragged down with them. Cornered, Jinwoo feeds her their cover story. The second news broke about those exploding L6 phones. He did deep research. He concluded it was a catastrophic battery defect, enough to get the model cancelled. He shared his findings with Taiku, who trusted his gut and made the ultimate, risky bet on the crash. It was a pure mathematical gamble, with zero insider help or sketchy third parties. Hyunju is no fool. She knows they are leaving out the details, but for now, she accepts the story. She brings up the infamous Sweet Bank scandal, where a shady cartel manipulated markets to profit from a massive crash. Those guys made 50 billion won, but these two amateurs working out of a messy bedroom made 10 times that insane amount. She explains that the Sweet Bank disaster created heavy regulations, but what these two did to Samsung is completely unheard of. Even with massive safety hedges, Golden Gate lost $20 million, all because two random kids capitalized on a broken phone. If OTK were a Korean company, they would all be wearing prison jumpsuits right now. But since the business is registered in an offshore tax haven, they got away clean. She stares at them, asking what they plan to do with 13 billion won. What is the plan now that their pockets are overflowing? Taiku proudly explains the split. Jinwoo owns 80%, and he took only 20. His sister is absolutely speechless. She asks why on earth he would let Jinwoo own the lion's share. Taiku's logic is ridiculously simple. Jinwoo had the brains and the vision, while he just had the cash. Hyunju calls this arrangement completely brainless. In the big leagues, the money man always gets the biggest slice of the pie. She claims he basically gave his empire away, but Taiku knew exactly what he was doing. He needed Jinwoo's big brain to run the show so they could print money forever. His sister remains skeptical, calling their massive win a stroke of pure luck and asking if they seriously plan on continuing this financial insanity. Taiku smiles, saying he has a master plan but absolutely needs her genius. To sweeten the pot, he offers her 3% of his shares, worth 20 billion won. Jinwoo chimes in, assuring her that while he runs the company, he is not some reckless gambler. Plus, she does not even have to quit her prestigious day job at the bank. In fact, she could use her high-ranking position to feed them valuable financial intel. Hyunju's immediate response? Ordering Jinwoo to go fetch her a hot coffee. Walking out, Jinwoo reflects on her background. She has been an absolute prodigy, acing the country's top economic school with perfect marks. She climbed the ranks at a legendary investment bank, effortlessly becoming a young team leader. Meanwhile, her brother spent his youth slacking off before accidentally tripping into a massive fortune. Jinwoo totally understands why taking orders from her lazy brother is a painful pill to swallow. When he returns, Taiku drops the best news his sister is officially in. Immediately, she kicks her brother out to buy her some cigarettes, wanting some private time with Jinwoo. Jinwoo smiles, thanking her for joining. She is super practical though. The offer was just too good to pass up. And if she said no, they would just find someone else anyway. Besides, she admits this is the first time her brother is actually serious about something. Specifically, anything that is not one of his geeky otaku hobbies. She still thinks their play was incredibly reckless. But hey, you cannot argue with results. Honestly, she would never have the guts for it. A move that dangerously risky. She expected this kind of wild behavior from her brother. But Jinwoo? That was a surprise. Jinwoo simply explains that since he grew up dead broke, he had nothing to lose. He was willing to gamble everything for a shot at the big leagues. To him, every legendary investor had to take a leap of faith eventually, and this was his moment. Still, Hyunju warns him about the market. It is full of geniuses, but also packed with total crooks. Even after 10 years in the game, she does not know everything. Jinwoo gets it. She is just worried about her little brother. He promises that no matter what, he will not let Taiku get dragged into any trouble. Hearing this finally puts her mind at ease. She tells him she is officially trusting him with her brother. And just like that, the company officially has 3 partners. Jinwoo holds 80%, Taiku has 17%, and Hyunju is in with 3%. Not long after, Jinwoo reveals his next master plan. He wants to open a brand new investment firm, turning their current company into a holding entity. Hyunju thinks it is smart, but wonders how on earth he plans to run it all. No rush though, she is here to back him up. First things first, they need a highly trustworthy person to run the new firm, a true right hand. He asks for her scouting skills, and she delivers almost immediately. She brings back some top-tier insider intel, an exclusive report from Golden Gate. Since their company is a massive client, they have every legal right to see this. She basically handed him a golden ticket. It is literally a menu of the market's hottest upcoming trends just waiting for his pick. Right then, Jinwoo gets a surprise call from his buddy, Park Sang-yeop, inviting him out to dinner. Immediately, Jinwoo spots the incredibly sharp, brand new suit. His friend is definitely dressed to impress. Sang-yeop announces that the meal is on him, making Jinwoo wonder if he finally cleared his debts. Oh, he did more than pay them off, and he has Jinwoo to thank for it. That goldmine Samsung tip completely saved him. Jinwoo asks if he bought put options on Samsung Electronics, but he shakes his head. He never actually believed the phone itself would get cancelled. Instead, he figured the real crisis was the batteries, meaning the manufacturers would take the hit. So, he took his last 700,000 won. After paying his bills, he bought put options on Samsung's insurer. The payoff? A massive 150 million won. Jinwoo is completely shocked. Even with future knowledge, he had not anticipated this. This guy is a born investor. Sang-yeop spotted the play, did not hesitate for a second, and risked his last cent to secure a massive fortune. Now that is what we call absolute legendary energy. Sang-yeop explains that the very first thing he did after getting out of the red was buy this fancy suit. He also knows Jinwoo and his partner made an absolute killing. A finance buddy tipped him off. He heard some mysterious foreign firm swept up all those lucrative Samsung options. Naturally, Sang-yeop knew exactly who was pulling the strings. Apparently, his friend even thought the buyer was Japanese because of the name. Yep, OTK company sounded a bit foreign. But it did not take long for Sang-yeop to connect the dots. Jinwoo chuckles and asks if that is the real reason for this fancy dinner. Sang-yeop nods. Jinwoo saved his life, so he wanted to show real gratitude. Our main character just asks him to keep a low profile since he is not looking for fame. Sang-yeop promises, but then immediately asks what is next. Jinwoo tries to play it cool, acting like he might just retire. But Sang-yeop is not falling for it. He knows they are building a massive new firm, and he wants a piece of the action. He delivers his pitch. Jinwoo needs a genius analyst who eats numbers for breakfast, and he is the perfect man for the job. He claims he has studied this market deeper than anyone else on Earth. Plus, he fully trusts Jinwoo's golden instincts and is already set on working for him. That expensive new suit? It was not for a celebration. It finally clicks for Jinwoo. This is a job interview. Sang-yeop lays his cards on the table. Jinwoo is the big boss, so the final call is his. Jinwoo hesitates. His current squad is solid, but they are definitely not ready for the storm ahead. He needs an absolute loyalist to be his hands and feet, someone who truly sees his vision. He asks if Sang-yeop is ready. Despite being the older guy, Sang-yeop has zero issues taking orders from him. He is more than ready to deliver results. Jinwoo realizes that a true leader's greatest strength is recognizing and capturing elite talent. And honestly, Sang-yeop is the most capable guy in his corner right now. So, he officially welcomes his first executive hire. Now that they are a team, Sang-yeop asks if it is literally just the two of them. Tae-koo chimes in to mention his big sister is also helping. She is a high-ranking manager at Golden Gate's Asian branch, managing all their legal and paperwork behind the scenes. Shifting gears, Jinwoo asks how his old company handled the news of him quitting. He instantly begged him to stay with a massive salary increase, which only made him regret not walking out much sooner. But now, he is entirely focused on riding the wave of the next massive industry shift. He explains his vision. When Apple dropped the first iPhone, the giant competitors laughed. By ignoring the revolution, they were completely wiped off the map. The smartphone changed everything. He believes average people only recognize true genius after the world has already moved on. And he has absolutely zero interest in being just another average guy. He wants to be standing right at the center of the storm. Jinwoo realizes his new partner is a completely different breed of genius. He definitely made the right call. Tae-koo agrees and raises a glass. The following morning, our main character wakes up with an absolutely brutal hangover. After dragging himself out of bed, his very first thought is tracking down his next big play. Suddenly, Tae-koo groggily wakes up to a buzzing phone. Spotting a call from a girl named Shin Yui, he tosses it over. Jinwoo answers, and a sweet voice on the other line pouts. She complains about him totally ghosting her after promising to call. He quickly apologizes, blaming his packed schedule. She is super sweet about it though, and immediately asks him out for lunch. Jinwoo remembers she was the catalyst for his entire Samsung stock vision. The absolute least he can do is buy her a nice meal to express his gratitude. She is thrilled, and they set a date. Instantly, Tae-koo gets all up in his business, demanding to know who she is. Jinwoo plays it off as just a cute underclassman, but Tae-koo immediately starts teasing him about dating. He denies it, but Tae-koo warns him they have a serious mission here. No time for romantic distractions. Our hero nods, but as he prepares for the lunch, he realizes a minor detail. He is completely flat broke. He literally invested every single cent, and his new credit card is still in the mail. Super embarrassed, he has to ask his buddy for a quick loan. Talk about a hilarious cosmic joke. He has literally billions sitting in offshore accounts, yet he cannot even afford a cheap lunch. Tae-koo hands over some cash, telling him not to do anything stupid. Soon, he meets up with the pretty underclassman. When she asks if he had trouble finding the place, Jinwoo mentions he just moved to Gangnam. Her eyes instantly light up, cheering that they can hang out all the time now. It is a bit much. I mean, even his ex-girlfriend was never this overly affectionate. He begins to wonder what her angle is. But when the bill arrives, Shinwee surprises him by immediately grabbing the check. She insists on paying since she invited him out, telling him he can just cover the next one. She sweetly claims she just hated dining alone and wanted some company. Then, she casually points toward her building. It is an insanely expensive luxury high-rise in a prime neighborhood. She boldly invites him over, bragging about the gorgeous Han River views and the exclusive resident lounge. As they walk over to the complex, Jinwoo cannot help but notice his new apartment is nowhere near this massive. Shinwoo casually explains that despite having this huge prime real estate all to herself, she lives completely alone. Since her parents work abroad, Jinwoo realizes one major thing. This girl is absolutely loaded. I mean, who else owns prime real estate like this? Anyway, Right in the middle of their cozy walk, Shinui mentions something has been bugging her. She looks at him and asks point blank, "How did you know Samsung would cancel the L6 phones?" Instantly, Jinwoo's mind flashes to Taeyu's warning to stay low-key. He has to tread carefully here. He tells her that since everyone was complaining online when the phone dropped, he simply made a lucky guess that it was getting axed. Shinui admits she suspected he had insider info because he sounded incredibly confident. He plays it cool, laughing it off since there was no real way to know. For sure. Just a pure gut feeling. She sighs, wishing she had known sooner to avoid the headache. To make things worse, her mother is furious because her Samsung stock took a massive nosedive once the news dropped. Even with a minor recovery, she is still losing money. So, Shinui asks for his expert advice. Should they sell now or hold? Jinwoo tells her to hold tight. He is sure Samsung will recover with their next big release. Plus, he points out that most people, including her, just swap their broken phones instead of demanding a refund. But honestly, their real moneymaker is not phones, it is semiconductors. With the massive chip boom, their investments give them a killer edge. He argues that since this entire sector is expanding, holding onto the shares is the smartest move. Then, he drops a quick disclaimer. Hey, he is no financial expert, this is just his personal opinion. But, Shinui does not care at all. She says pros get it wrong all the time, so she is trusting him anyway. Jinwoo is shocked, she even owns stock. She explains she used her allowance to buy in right after the crash. A wild thought hits him. If her basic pocket money is enough to buy blue-chip stocks, this family is filthy rich. Suddenly, her grandmother pops up and asks if Jinwoo is her boyfriend. Shinui immediately blushes and says they are just friends, but Grandma insists she should marry this handsome guy before someone else steals him. After they say goodbye, Shinui explains the family history. Her grandmother once owned a tiny shop on a gold mine plot of land, which she sold to a massive corporate mall. With that giant pile of cash, she bought 3 luxury apartments in this very complex, 1 for herself and 2 for her kids. And just like that, the puzzle pieces click, and Jinwoo understands where all this crazy money comes from. But wait, you and I are about to see him turn this random trivia into a stroke of genius. He tells Shinui she just solved his biggest problem, promises her a coffee date, and bolts. To her, he is just being his usual eccentric self. But for Jinwoo, this is a massive breakthrough. He sprints home and tells his buddy Taeyu that he finally cracked the code. Taeyu immediately asks if he had another future vision. Jinwoo says no, but explains that real estate redevelopment is the exact blueprint they need. Imagine a small, forgotten house on a plot of land that gets bought by a corporate giant and turned into a towering skyscraper. It makes the owner rich, but that is purely luck. They had no idea the land would explode in value. Taeyu asks what any of this has to do with the stock market. Jinwoo connects the dots. In business, a tiny startup is basically that undeveloped land. Buy in early, sell high later for huge returns down the road. But they cannot rely on dumb luck. They must target high-potential startups and hold for the long haul. Taeyu nods along, but points out how insanely difficult that is. Jinwoo reminds him they have a literal cheat code. They can peek into the future and see which ones succeed. With the master plan ready, all they need to do now is hunt down their targets. After the New Year celebrations, Jinwoo's mother drops by. They share a nice dinner and show her around the new apartment. Jinwoo tells her she should pack up and move in, but she is happy in her own home. Still, she promises to visit frequently. The moment she leaves, Jinwoo gets right back to grinding. Taeyu explains that almost every startup is begging Golden Gate for cash, so he has built a list of the top candidates. But Jinwoo does not want those. He wants the list of rejected companies. That is right, the rejects. His logic is simple. Highly funded startups are too obvious. The real gold is hidden in the ones everyone threw away, and he is the only one who can spot it. Taeyu groans that reviewing thousands of rejects is way too much paperwork for them. But Jinwoo has a plan. He hired his sister to do the initial screening since she loves repetitive, detailed tasks. Even so, Jinwoo must personally look over her pile. His cheat power only triggers if his own eyes scan the pages. Sometime later, he is absolutely exhausted reading document after document. So, he tries a little experiment by grabbing the whole stack. Suddenly, his inner power tingles. The golden ticket is definitely in there. He dumps every single paper onto the living room floor. He orders his buddy to lay them out flat, with 0 overlap. Now, he can scan them lightning fast, tossing the trash aside in seconds. Days fly by. While Jinwoo does the heavy lifting, Taeyu is literally just chilling on the couch, playing video games. Classic helper behavior. Finally, Jinwoo presents a tiny pool, potential winners, having narrowed it down to the absolute best options. Taeyu tells him to go sleep. He has been grinding for days, but Jinwoo refuses. He has come too far in 10 days to quit now, not when he is this close. But then, boom, he completely passes out, plunges straight into a vision. This time, it is not his usual eagle. It is a majestic unicorn. A floating message tells him that in a partially unknown Eden, he will find his prize. Jinwoo is ecstatic. His vision has finally triggered. When he finally opens his eyes, his buddy tells him he slept for nearly 20 hours. He mentions a bizarre dream about a unicorn, but the details have already faded. To, however, was actually productive. He created a solid list of target startups and suggests hiring a high-level negotiation team to close the deals. But Jinwoo shoots that down. Building a firm and scouting talent takes months. By then, these startups will have signed with other investors. No, he has a much smarter strategy to make sure they strike fast. Now, here is where you and I get to see the master plan unfold. A bit later, he sets up an urgent meeting. Park Sang-yap is told he is meeting the team, and his nerves are completely shot. He arrives incredibly early, thinking it is good manners. But as he walks up to the door, he overhears them talking about multi-million-dollar investments, and his confidence immediately evaporates. Inside, Jinwoo, Taeyu, and Oh Hyunju are analyzing startups. Hyunju explains she has already booked meetings with overseas firms. Jinwoo wants to steer clear of domestic startups because OTK is still being watched by government financial regulators. He has to keep this completely under wraps, knowing the play only works if his parent company is kept out of the spotlight. Right on cue, Park Sang-yap nervously walks in. Jinwoo introduces him as his university senior and an experienced mathematician. He then introduces Oh Hyunju as the director of Golden Gate's Asian division, who is also Taeyu's sister. Once they exchange hellos, Jinwoo playfully teases Sang-yap for eavesdropping. Knowing he is too polite to have just shown up, he cuts straight to business. He is setting up a fresh investment firm under OTK, with OTK owning all the shares, and he wants Sang-yap to run this brand new subsidiary, backing him with 70 million in capital and a personal salary of 100 million. Sang-yap is absolutely speechless. After their last talk, he never expected an opportunity this massive. You do not just hand over that kind of cash to a random guy. For Jinwoo to pick him means he has insane belief in his abilities. Jinwoo smiles and says he knows Sang-yap's character perfectly, and there is nobody more qualified. Now, all they need is a nice office. On that note, you and I can see Sang-yap is ready to give it his all. So our guy already scouted a prime location on his way over. Since Jinwoo dropped a few hints earlier, he figured, why not get a head start? Jinwoo just smiles. Honestly, that is exactly why he hired him. Right on cue, Taku suggests naming their new subsidiary, but Jinwoo instantly shuts that idea down. No way is he letting his buddy choose, especially with his terrible track record of weird, anime-inspired names. Instead, Sang-ya suggests K Company, since the K in OTK means protecting. Taku and his sister actually agree. It is simple, but hey, it is pretty cool. Jinwoo gives the green light, officially naming Park Sang-yap as the brand new CEO. With the meeting wrapped up, Hyunju wastes no time setting up the entire operation. Sang-yap starts vetting hot startups for potential investments. Meanwhile, corporate staff from Golden Gate arrive at K Company headquarters to integrate. Walking in, Taku is absolutely blown away by their massive new office. Jinwoo explains, it is a strategic spot, close to the airport for global investors and Golden Gate executives. Right after, Hyunju mentions she set up a meeting with a top-tier international lawyer. Enter Ellie Kim, an expert attorney affiliated with Golden Gate and a close friend of Hyunju. Straight from the airport, she introduces herself, explaining that she is completely fluent because of her Korean father. Jinwoo honestly admits he expected some old veteran, bluntly asking if she can handle the job. Hyunju immediately steps in to vouch for her friend's elite skills. She also notes she kept Ellie on a need-to-know basis, since Golden Gate has no idea Jinwoo secretly owns OTK. Jinwoo totally respects lawyer-client privilege, but he insists on sitting in on every single pitch. He will only delegate the dry, legal paperwork to Ellie. As they wait, Jinwoo is sweating bullets. For the two women, this is just a regular Tuesday, but the pressure is weighing heavily on our main character. He knows he has to lead. The first founders walk in Toby Strong and Gerald Bacon, seeking serious capital to scale. Their pitch is incredibly simple. They want to create the Netflix of adult entertainment. Toby argues the market is huge, but messy, and plagued by piracy, which they want to fix. Jinwoo analyzes the numbers the model works, but the spicy niche heavily limits their customer base. Still, Taku is absolutely sold on the idea. His sister Hyunju is highly skeptical, pointing out that an 18-plus streaming service is a massive risk, but Taku proudly claims he is the ultimate expert on this specific category, urging her to go all in. After some intense negotiating, They shake on $9 million for 80% equity. Up next is a startup pitching robot pizza-making machines for food trucks to cut labor costs. Guess what? Taku falls in love immediately, while his sister rolls her eyes. He claims he is the ultimate pizza authority, arguing that baking pies on the move is genius. Ellie agrees, adding that the American pizza industry is giant. This tech could genuinely change the game. After some back and forth, they invest $7.5 million. By the end of the day, Jinwoo is completely exhausted. Taku doesn't get it, mocking him for getting tired just sitting around. Jinwoo is secretly impressed by his friend's chill attitude, because crunching numbers all day gives him massive headaches. Needing some fresh air, Jinwoo heads outside and bumps into Ellie. She tells him she went jogging to stretch her legs, then asks if he wants to grab a drink with her. Surprised but interested, Jinwoo accepts. Soon, the two are chilling outside a local convenience store. Ellie mentions this is her third trip to Korea, but her very first business trip. Jinwoo thanks her, letting her know she has been a massive lifesaver. Ellie smiles, admitting she is amazed that the company shaking up the financial world is run by only two guys. She explains that the Samsung crisis rocked the entire globe, hitting her firm, Golden Gate, hard. Yet, right in the middle of all that chaos, an unknown group called OTK made millions. To her, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Jinwoo humbly laughs it off as beginner's luck, but Ellie is no fool. She knows it takes serious genius to pull off a heist like that. He deflects, crediting his friend and sister for the success. Ellie chuckles, mentioning that because of the weird name, most people in the industry assumed OTK was a Japanese firm. She did too, until now. Knowing they have a big day tomorrow, she calls it a night. Back at the hotel lobby, Ellie suddenly turns and asks him who his favorite actor is. He is too stunned to answer, keeping his secrets to himself. The next morning, they meet with a Chinese logistics startup aiming to clean up disorganized truck shipping routes. They explain that despite China's massive railway system, road transport is a mess, with cargo trucks often driving all the way back empty after long deliveries. So, they built an Uber-style app connecting shippers with drivers to optimize routes. It cuts massive costs, but Hyunju remains highly skeptical about whether it actually works. The founders insist their system is flawless. Suddenly, they start whispering to each other in rapid Chinese, completely leaving Jinwoo out of the loop. But Ellie catches every single word. She smoothly cuts in, speaking fluent Chinese, which completely breaks the tension and wins over the foreign founders on the spot. Just like that, they seal a perfect deal. Once the startup round wraps up, Jinwoo realizes he actually misses the high-stakes thrills. He reaches out to thank Hyunju for her help. She was absolutely crucial to their success. Later, over lunch, Jinwoo points out they have been working non-stop since day one and proposes taking a well-deserved day off. Ellie perks up, asking if he has plans. Since he is free, she boldly asks him to be her personal tour guide in Seoul. Hyunju smirks, asking if she is hitting on their boss. Ellie confidently admits she is, and Jinwoo surprisingly has no objections. A few hours later, they meet in the lobby, and Jinwoo is absolutely stunned by her gorgeous outfit. Outside, Taku shows up uninvited. Knowing his introverted buddy has no ride, he generously offers his car. Jinwoo desperately wants to say no, totally mortified by the flashy anime rap. But Ellie actually thinks it is super cute, so our boy is officially stuck driving the otaku mobile. On the road, he asks her where she wants to go, and she has a specific destination. She wants to visit a local university campus. Since her past trips were just corporate tours, she is dying to see Korea University, which Hyunju mentioned was Jinwoo's old school. Going back to his alma mater is fine, but rolling up in a giant anime-themed eyesore is his worst nightmare. Arriving, he notes that while some zones are restricted, they can still wander around. While exploring, disaster strikes. A few of Jinwoo's old university classmates spot him instantly, standing right next to the embarrassing, cringe-wrapped car he was trying so hard to hide. One of them, Lee Jaime, sneers and mocks him for driving such a childish ride. His real friends tell him to just blow her off, but Jaime is not done yet. Refusing to be ignored, she spots Jinwoo's ex-girlfriend, Siona, walking nearby and loudly calls her over. And of course, Siona is holding hands with her new boyfriend. Talk about peak awkwardness. Jinwoo is dying inside, standing by this anime car, while knowing Siona's new guy is filthy rich and drives a luxury ride. Jaime is loving every second. She set up this entire trap just to humiliate him. But then, Ellie steps up with a dazzling smile, introducing herself as a global representative from Golden Gate. The entire crowd freezes, jaw-dropped that a literal goddess from a top firm is with Jinwoo. Siona's wealthy boyfriend, Jun Hyung, immediately tries to play it cool, sends her to Korea. Ellie explains she is here for business, but after getting cooped up in her hotel, she asks Jinwoo for a university tour. Seeing a prime opportunity, Junyoung smoothly hands over a business card. bragging about how his family does business with Golden Gate. Ellie instantly recognizes his company, GH Construction, and mentions their projects in Indonesia. That is news to Jinwoo, not that he really cares about those family flexes right now. Siona, totally hating this awkward chat, drags her boyfriend away. With the ex-drama finished, Jinwoo's actual friends invite him and Ellie to grab lunch. He, however, is highly annoyed that another gorgeous woman is stealing her spotlight, muttering that working for some big foreign firm is no big deal. After an afternoon of dodging annoying questions, the university tour finally wrapped up. Jinwoo takes Ellie to explore a different scenic part of the city. As they walk, Ellie casually remarks that Junyoung's girlfriend was indeed as beautiful as Taeku described. Then, she lets it slip that she knows they actually dated for quite a while, right up until he joined the military. Jinwoo grumbles about his friend's massive mouth, but insists it is ancient history. He has nothing to do with that girl anymore. Ellie mentions they have a crazy schedule tomorrow, but says she truly loved hanging out with him. Jinwoo smiles, admitting he had a blast with her as well. Meanwhile, away from the university, Junyoung notices his girlfriend is visibly bothered. He tells her he knows she and Jinwoo used to date, but seeing him wasn't the weird part. It was his ride. Siona guesses it must belong to Jinwoo's super-rich friend, Taeku. But this only puzzles Junyoung more, leaving him wondering what kind of connection they have to a lawyer from Golden Gate. Siona explains that Taeku's sister is actually employed at Golden Gate's Asian division. Even so, Junyoung feels something is highly suspicious about Jinwoo. Unlike other guys, he did not seem even slightly intimidated by his status. Siona agrees that her ex has completely transformed, but she makes it clear she's done discussing him. Back with our protagonist, he is at another startup pitch. The founder explains they focus on artificial intelligence-generated architecture, using machine learning to build highly complex skyscrapers. This time, it's Hyunju who is incredibly impressed, and she instantly greenlights the funding. Afterward, she notes their next appointment is hours away, leaving room for some relaxation. Ellie seizes the opportunity, inviting Jinwoo to play squash, but he declines, saying he is still aching from getting totally destroyed during their last game. Later, while chilling with Taeku, Jinwoo notices that for a guy who barely speaks English, he is paying massive attention. The proud otaku keeps his true motives hidden, silently noting that only one business has actually impressed him so far. He simply tells Jinwoo that since it is his money being invested, he needs to monitor where every single cent goes. In response, Jinwoo asks if he knows Song Masayoshi. Taeku recognizes the name as the legendary mastermind behind the online giant Alibaba. Jinwoo explains that back in the day, the digital market was ruled by eBay. But when the head of Softbox, Song Masayoshi, visited Beijing on business, Alibaba's founder immediately requested a face-to-face meeting. After only 2 hours, Masayoshi confidently agreed to invest $20 million. Back then, nobody believed a local Chinese platform could compete with an American giant. But 20 years later, eBay completely packed up and left China due to terrible sales, while Alibaba went public on the stock exchange. Today, Alibaba is valued at roughly $330 billion, making it way more valuable than Samsung. Softbox's $20 million bet for a 30% stake succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Jinwoo connects this back to Taeku's complaints about their portfolio not showing instant cash returns. He explains that like Masayoshi, they are putting money into projects with massive long-term potential. Jinwoo notes that just as Song, Masayoshi planted a $20 million seed that grew into 11 trillion won, OTK could do the exact same. They just need to find that one golden ticket. This finally clicks for Taeku. With $600 million, they actually have way more starting cash than Masayoshi did, meaning they have a lot more room for error. Jinwoo nods, agreeing that even if they miss early on, a single massive win makes everything worth it. Just then, Hyunju walks in with huge news. She got a call from the exact tech firm Jinwoo has been dying to meet. She reveals that the executives from Keros are flying into Korea and asks if they want a meeting. She points out that many popular startups rejected their invites because they already secured other funding. Jinwoo mentions that Keros initially ghosted their proposal, too. Hyunju clarifies that OTK's opening bid just wasn't high enough for them. Soon after, the guys from Keros arrive, including their COO, Ryan Gates, and CFO, Sergey Ivanovich. Once Hyunju and Ellie introduce themselves, the executives completely ignore Jinwoo and Taeku. Mistaking them for low-level interns, they immediately demand to know who at OTK actually holds the decision-making power. Hyunju calmly tells them she does. With the hierarchy sorted, Ryan pitches their target. Keros wants $100 million. Hyunju does not even flinch, declaring they can easily write a check for that amount. Jinwoo notices she has these arrogant corporate guys completely under control, letting her lead. Ryan offers to dummy down their tech presentation, but Hyunju instantly shuts him down. She already knows their business inside out and wants to hear about their messy legal problems. Sergey explains the history. The modern car market revolves around two critical things: electric power and self-driving systems. 5 years ago, Amazon backed them, followed by South Korea's Hyundai. A minor Japanese stake was bought by Keros shortly after. Eventually, Amazon pulled out and sold to Hyundai, who acquired Keros entirely, successfully monopolizing the electric market. Hyunju asks the million-dollar question. If Hyundai is in absolute control, why dump Keros now? Sergey admits their partnership collapsed when a Samsung rival proved much more efficient, rendering Keros totally redundant. Now, Hyundai simply wants to offload Keros's patents to recover their losses. Hearing this, Taeku cannot keep quiet, questioning the logic of this deal. Why purchase a company that is basically Hyundai's trash? He turns to Jinwoo, asking if he already knew about this connection. Jinwoo nods, which is all his buddy needs to see before dragging him out of the room for a private, serious talk. Behind closed doors, Taeku demands to know what on earth he is planning, insisting his friend is acting crazy. Ellie wonders if this whole thing is personal. Jinwoo finally confesses the brutal truth. Hyundai is the very corporation that ruined his family and drove his father to death. His dad ran a tiny metalworking shop with only 10 employees. After endless hard work, he engineered a revolutionary suspension system. But right before he could secure the patent, Hyundai agent arrived, offering to buy it but demanding a product sample to test first. Not long after, Hyundai suddenly canceled the contract. They had dirty intentions all along. They used that physical sample to steal the exact blueprints, patenting the design themselves and leaving the real inventor with nothing. Jinwoo says his dad never recovered from that betrayal. Ellie asks if his family received any legal payout. Hyunju explains that as an international lawyer, she does not understand how harsh business is in Korea. A tiny startup practically never wins against a multi-billion-dollar giant in court. Corporate lawyers simply drag the lawsuit out forever, completely bankrupting the small victim with endless legal fees. But Jinwoo insists he is setting his personal vendetta aside to make a smart business move. Yet, even without the heavy emotions, Hyunju is strongly against the buyout. She points out that paying that much for a dying firm is a terrible investment. Ellie agrees, adding that Keros's patents are only worth $50 million, so dropping double that amount is guaranteed bankruptcy. It would wipe out their remaining cash, blocking any future plays. Taeku is also totally against helping Hyundai clean up their mess. Jinwoo knows they are correct. If not for his future vision, Jinwoo would have walked away too. Hyunju keeps it real, she just does the math. Ultimately, the big boss makes the final call. So, Taeku asks Jinwoo what they are doing. Jinwoo drops a bomb he wants a face-to-face with the Keros CEO. But the rep, Ryan, plays hardball, claiming his boss is far too busy, so they sent him instead. But Hyunju immediately shuts that down. She reminds them that Keros is begging for cash, not OTK, and $100 million is not pocket change. Hearing that, the shook Keros reps quickly back down and promise to set up a meeting. Later, Taeku admits he is totally lost but trusts his buddy. Still, he has to ask if Jinwoo is happy with this. Jinwoo recalls staying up all night, wrestling with that exact thought. Ultimately, he chose to bury his doubts and trust his cheat code vision. Soon after, Daryl Shawn, the big boss of Keros, rolls up to the hotel to greet him. The second they shake hands, a wild vision flashes in Jinwoo's mind, giving him all the proof he needs. Jinwoo is locked in and ready to buy Keros, no matter what. In the boardroom, Daryl Shawn pitches his grand vision, explaining that modern cars are no longer just engines and wheels. They are rolling computers, and Keros is building a self-driving artificial intelligence to take the wheel. Hyunju points out that other companies already do this, but Daryl shakes his head. His system is completely different. It is not some basic autopilot, but a real artificial intelligence that thinks like a human. But the tech-challenged executives at Hyundai were not buying it, and that is why Keros needs a savior. Shawn explains that Hyundai only chases quick cash, completely ignoring future-defining technology in favor of safe, generic software. Jinwoo realizes that out of all the projects their company has ever backed, absolutely nothing touches this incredible artificial intelligence system. It all clicks now. This is why his future vision brought him here. He asks who owns what. Shawn says Hyundai owns 86%, he holds 6.5%, and employees have 7.5%. Silicon Valley talent is pricey, so they give out stock options instead of big paychecks. Jinwoo knows buying out Hyundai's massive share in Keros will cost a fortune, but he is ready to pull the trigger. Still, he will not pay full price. Keros is desperate, not them. So, Jinwoo flips the script and says OTK will invest in them directly. He also promises that OTK will not micromanage their work like Hyundai did. Jinwoo knows that even if it takes time, Keros has the potential to change the world. And with that, Daryl Shawn happily agrees. He is leaving Hyundai for OTK. Jinwoo cannot wait for their rivals to realize they just threw away a gold mine. They basically gave away a multi-billion-dollar company. Even Taeku is hyped now. He was skeptical at first, but he knows his best friend never misses. After that nightmare of a drive, Jinwoo decided it was time for an upgrade. He is never riding in Taeku's trash car again. They pull up to a luxury car dealership for a test drive. Taeku notes that they are the only ones who know that cars are going full sci-fi. While the girls grab some coffee, the boys start browsing, catching the attention of the sales team. One snobby salesman instantly dismisses them as broke college kids just window shopping, but the rookie salesman decides to use this as a chance to practice his customer service skills. He walks over and offers them a test drive in a trendy convertible, but Jinwoo has his eyes on a serious powerhouse. The rookie praises his taste, calling it their absolute bestseller. He gives them the grand tour and drops the price tag, 140 million won. Jinwoo freezes. Taeku reminds him it is won, not dollars, but Jinwoo still has no cash. So, he asks to borrow the money. Taeku hands over his credit card like a true bro, telling Jinwoo to pay him back with future company dividends. Then, Taeku goes wild and decides to buy a beastly ride for himself too, pointing at the most expensive sports car. The rookie salesman is just nodding along, waiting for them to choke on the price. So, his jaw drops when Jinwoo casually says they will buy both and pay in full today. The rookie, Kim Do-yeon, just learned never to judge a book by its cover. He rushes to get the paperwork, leaving the snobby veteran salesman dying of jealousy over the massive commission he just threw away. Jinwoo asks Taeku if he likes his new ride. Taeku loves it but jokes that he cannot put decals on this beast. Jinwoo agrees it is way better clean. Then, Taeku casually brings up the $100,000 loan, and Ellie is standing right behind them, taking mental notes. She remarks that the date must have been incredibly special. Taeku, being the ultimate troll, adds that Jinwoo even drove her home. Sensing the growing awkwardness, Hyunju quickly changes the subject, asking about the cars. Her brother proudly flexes his new purchase, while Jinwoo shows off his. Ellie comments dryly that at least he will not look like a broke student anymore. Jinwoo quietly begs her not to mention his last car mishap to Taeku. It is petty, but he wants to avoid drama. Ellie smiles, realizing Jinwoo is actually a pretty solid guy. With a few hours left before her flight, she suggests they go to an amusement park, but Hyunju does not have a blast, since she absolutely hates high-speed roller coasters. Eventually, the girls head off to the airport. Jinwoo tells Taeku that the hardest part is over. All their investments are locked in. Now, they just wait for the cash to roll in and enjoy some downtime. A few days later, they visit their new company office. Park Sang-yeop is waiting to congratulate them, but Jinwoo notices that Sang-yeop looks completely dead inside. He insists he is fine, just exhausted from running everything solo while they were living it up. Taeku suggests grabbing food, but they end up ordering takeout to the office instead. Turns out Sang-yeop is actually living in the office because he has not found an apartment yet. Jinwoo decides this is crazy. They need to hire more employees, so he stops working himself to death. Sang-yeop mentions he has some solid candidates, specifically a guy named Young Guihong. Jinwoo recognizes the name instantly from their university days. He heard the guy was jobless, but Jinwoo does not want to hire friends right now. Shifting gears, Sang-yeop asks where they plan to invest next. He is confused because Jinwoo's picks make absolutely no sense. It is almost like he has a cheat guide. Jinwoo just smiles, claiming he targets companies with massive growth potential. He plays the all-or-nothing game, but Sang-yeop is not buying that simple explanation. He tells Jinwoo he is working on a level way beyond any business genius on Earth. This is more than just luck. Either way, Sang-yeop reports they have 6 billion won left from their 70 billion won budget. He wants to put that money to work. Jinwoo agrees and asks if he has any hot leads. Handily enough, Sang-yeop already has a golden list prepared. A few days later, the big negotiations with Hyundai are officially wrapped up. OTK buys Keros for $88 million, which is a massive steal. Even better, Jinwoo's new luxury ride is finally delivered. He decides it is time for a test drive. First stop? His mom's place. She is busy packing up for her move to the new house. Jinwoo rolls up, shows her the shiny new car, and tells her it is hers. Shocked, she wants to know how much money he wasted. Jinwoo just laughs, saying her happiness is all that matters. Then, Taeku jumps in with his own surprise. When they arrive, he reveals he fully furnished the entire house with top-tier appliances. Their mother is completely overwhelmed, crying that she does not deserve any of this. but Jinwoo gently tells her not to. She should stop worrying and just enjoy her new life. Honestly, you and I both know his plan. He is going to travel the world. Mom asks if he and Taeku will study abroad, but Taeku wants absolutely zero part in this. Fast forward 1 year, and guess what? They ended up touring the globe anyway. Since Taeku was basically dragged along, he is crying tears of pure joy to finally be back home. Right then, Shinui calls Jinwoo with a massive wake-up call. Today is the absolute deadline to re-enroll in college. Jinwoo agrees to meet up, but Taeku catches him, out and asks where he is going right after their trip. Jinwoo says he is off to campus to finally hit the books and graduate. When he meets up with Shinui, she reveals she took a gap year too. That is exactly why she wanted them returning at the same time. She invites him to grab lunch, hinting there is something else they need to discuss. As Jinwoo unlocks a sweet ride, he quickly points out it is not actually his. It belongs to a friend. Shinui is shocked someone would just hand over their keys like that, but his buddy is a massive couch potato who barely drives anyway. Sitting down at a fancy restaurant, Jinwoo spots the crazy prices and asks if she is truly okay with paying. She insists she owes him for keeping her company on the phone all year. It really kept her from feeling lonely. Plus, she apparently made a fortune on Samsung stock thanks to his genius advice. Now that they are back, she asks what his plans are. Jinwoo drops a bomb. He is already planning a trip to Hong Kong to visit a friend. Shinui mentions she always wanted to go there during their next vacation. Back at the house, Taeku is having a total meltdown. The highly anticipated sequel to his favorite video game was just cancelled due to zero funding. We are talking about a game he loves so much he wrapped his car with the main character. He cannot let this project die. So, he literally begs Jinwoo to invest, calling it a sacred duty for gamers everywhere. Sure, the price tag is 100 billion won, but Taeku claims money is nothing to a true fan. Jinwoo initially wants to refuse. Such a crazy pitch, but then he remembers how much Taeku has helped his family. He really owes him a favor, and making his best friend happy is worth it. He agrees. Arrange a meeting to discuss the deal. Right after that, Shinui calls him again, completely panicked. It turns out some guy from her department has been stalking her, and she has no idea how to deal with him. She asks if he is returning to campus soon to help. So, the next day, after a 3-year break, Jinwoo finally steps back onto university grounds. He immediately stops by to visit his old professor. After catching up, Jinwoo offers a small gift, but the professor instantly panics and refuses, claiming that under the strict anti-corruption laws, he cannot even accept water. But does that rule apply to an autograph from Chase Southwell? Jinwoo knows his professor is a massive fan, and explains. A friend's sister works at Golden Gate and scored it. Chase is one of Golden Gate's 5 big directors, leading the entire Asian sector. Actually, just a single week ago, Jinwoo and the whole OTK crew flew to Hong Kong on Chase's personal invitation. The director was desperate to meet them. After throwing some major praise, he mentioned Golden Gate made insane profits working with them. He wants that partnership growing, teasing some massive news by the end of the year. Cut back to the present, where Jinwoo is sitting in lecture, chatting with a classmate. Suddenly, a group of girls interrupts, whispering and asking who the hot new guy is. His classmate, Gyeonggul, quickly steps in to introduce him, explaining. He is actually a returning student, not a freshman. The girls are totally swooning over his looks, but Gyeonggul quickly shoos them away, claiming they are busy with important studies. Jinwoo remembers he has to meet Yuri and invites his buddies to come along. He tries calling her, but she is not picking up. His friend takes the opportunity to ask if he is still talking to that stunning lawyer, Ellie. Jinwoo explains she returned to Hong Kong, so they have not caught up lately. Suddenly, Jinwoo spots Yuri cornered by a random guy. His friend identifies him as Chai Mung-ho, a rich heir to a fast food empire. He warns Jinwoo that the guy has a trash reputation, so stay away. Naturally, Jinwoo does the exact opposite. He walks straight over and pulls Yuri away. The wealthy brat immediately snaps, demanding to know who this guy thinks he is. Jinwoo calmly states he is Yuri's senior and tells him to back off. Mung-ho tries to play it cool, claiming he was just inviting freshmen to lunch, but Yuri shuts him down, telling him to stop being a pushy creep. Jinwoo realizes this is definitely her stalker, and casually announces she already has lunch plans with him. Hearing this, Mung-ho scoffs, bragging that everyone drops everything for him, especially a freshman. Jinwoo completely ignores the speech and walks off with Yuri, leaving the spoiled rich kid fuming alone. And yeah, he is furious. Anyway, Jinwoo officially invites Yuri to join his group for lunch. She is completely thrilled to tag along, but their good vibes are cut short. Mung-ho comes storming back, literally trying to grab Yuri by force. Jinwoo blocks him instantly, gripping the spoiled brat's wrist and peeling him away from her. The kid absolutely loses his mind. Before a fight breaks out, an older senior named Guan steps in, lecturing Jinwoo that being a senior does not give him the right to bully underclassmen. Jinwoo points out he was just stopping a creep, but Guan claims he was physically assaulting the guy. Meanwhile, the rich brat, Manhwa, smirks and acts like it is no big deal. But on the inside, his fragile ego is absolutely screaming. The senior walks off with him, giving Jinwoo a final warning look. Once they leave, Yuri sighs and explains that Manhwa is a notorious menace. He stalks her constantly, even calling late at night, and everyone in the department is sick of his drama. Jinwoo realizes this spoiled brat is going to be a massive, recurring pain. Later, they head to lunch, only to find their favorite spot is packed to the brim. The only open table has a gorgeous classmate named Siona sitting there. They sit down, but the air is immediately thick with tension. Still, Jinwoo's friends prefer this over dealing with the other campus snobs. Right on cue, the three biggest jerks of the department strut inside. Manhwa spots Yuri and pretends it is a happy little coincidence, running into them. He immediately tries to provoke Jinwoo, bringing up rumors that his family went broke. Jinwoo does not even blink, refusing to give the clown any satisfaction. Seeing his insult fail, he turns his creepy charm back on Yuri, ignoring her clear rejection. He actually claims girls who play hard to get are the most attractive. Siona finally chimes in, saying girls actually hate guys who cannot take a hint. Completely ignoring her, Manhwa offers 1,000,000 won to anyone who leaves so he can corner Yuri alone. Jinwoo instantly counters, offering to pay double if Manhwa scrambles somewhere else. The rich kid scoffs, laughing that 2 million is absolute pocket change for his family. Jinwoo shrugs and says it was just a joke. After all, nobody would waste 2 million won on someone so incredibly annoying. Furious, the brat accuses Jinwoo of flexing for the girls and challenges him to a crazy bet. 2 hours to pile cash on this table. You and I know who is going to win this. Jinwoo accepts, leaving his friends absolutely horrified since they think he is broke. Soon after, Guan confiscates their phones to keep this insane bet quiet. Wait, no backed out deals. Manhwa sets the rules 2 hours, cold cash only, absolutely no checks or deeds. Then, he confidently slaps 5 million won, right on the table. Jinwoo easily matches it, adding some pocket change for dramatic effect. Manhwa is completely shocked. Wasn't this guy broke? Angry, he slams down a briefcase loaded with 100 million won. Talk about a flex. The crowd is losing their minds. But Yuri? Cool as a cucumber. She already knows her future man is about to wipe the floor with this clown. Manhwa smugly tells Jinwoo he can still forfeit to save some face. But Jinwoo just smiles, reminding him the game lasts for 2 hours. He is just waiting for his actual money to arrive. Meanwhile, Siona is facepalming, thinking Jinwoo is just a clueless idiot. But then, she gasps. Taeku arrives, carrying 2 massive bags of sweet, sweet cash. He looks around, asking if that loudmouth blonde is the one messing with his best buddy. Jinwoo nods, and Taeku aggressively dumps a literal mountain of money onto the table. Jinwoo just smiles, asking if they are still playing. Manhwa is hyperventilating, demanding to know how a supposedly broke guy has 500 million won just lying around. Meanwhile, Yuri is just loving every second of this legendary flex from her favorite guy. Panicking, Manhwa desperately calls his people to deliver a whole 1 billion won. But Taeku has zero patience for this kid's dramatic tantrum. He casually tosses a black credit card onto the table. Manhwa is completely lost. Jinwoo explains that if they are bending rules anyway, they can treat this card like a high-limit digital check. Manhwa argues he could just make up some crazy number. But Jinwoo cheerfully replies that a big-shot heir wouldn't lie about his wealth. Plus, he knows Manhwa's family business is worth plenty. Realizing Jinwoo can back up any crazy bet, Manhwa starts sweating buckets. He looks at Jinwoo's open bag, wondering what kind of insane wealth he's truly hiding. Desperate to win, Manhwa takes the bait and bets the absolute maximum he can raise right now, 2.5 billion won. Jinwoo easily agrees, setting the card's value. Manhwa is speechless. Jinwoo did not even hesitate, which means he had that insane amount of cash ready before the game even started. Taeku just smirks because they have more tricks up their sleeves. Flashback time. Siona was busy lecturing Jinwoo, telling him he would lose, but Jinwoo just ignored her nagging and asked Yuri for a quick favor. Specifically, to empty her wallet. Yuri happily obliged, acting like a supportive girlfriend, while Siona stood there hesitating. Even though Jinwoo's opponent was a rich snob, his supreme confidence was totally infectious. Siona was convinced he was throwing his entire future away for a silly pride match. But fast forward to the present, and she is staring in absolute, jaw-dropping shock along with everyone else. Turns out Taeku called a Golden Gate representative, who just walked in with massive briefcases. Jinwoo casually reveals they are holding the equivalent of over 6 billion won. Boom, game over. Now, Mung-ho is completely losing his mind. 1 billion was already pushing it, but 6 billion? Impossible. He cannot comprehend how a supposedly ruined kid has connections with the elite Golden Gate group. Furious, Mung-ho yells, asking why he's being humiliated like this. Taeku hilariously tells him that his family's chicken franchise tastes like garbage, so that's on him. Jinwoo, being the absolute king, asks if Mung-ho needs help signing his university withdrawal forms. The spoiled brat finally gets crushed and surrenders. Winning the game, Jinwoo instructs the Golden Gate staff to collect the money, but first, he grabs a fat stack of cash and happily announces that dinner is on him tonight. What a boss. As he walks out, Siona stops him, demanding to know if this has something to do with that fancy Golden Gate lawyer. Jinwoo just smiles, saying he has influential friends. He privately decides she does not need to know his secrets, leaving her totally clueless. Later, Jinwoo meets with Park Sang-yup, who wishes he could have witnessed the epic beatdown in person. Jinwoo chuckles, asking for an update on K Company. Sang-yup reports that their portfolio is absolutely booming, making K Company a huge sensation in Korea. He even hired some top talent, including Yonggi Hong, who is crushing it. But Sang-yup knows Jinwoo is here for business, not a friendly chat. He asks what Jinwoo really wants. Our main character instructs him to keep the startup steady but shift all long-term investments into short-term ones. He cryptically warns that a massive event is coming. The moment he gives the word, Sang-yup must liquidate everything into hard cash. Fast forward 15 days, a new semester begins, and Jinwoo notices that after his massive flex, only one person still treats him normally, his favorite girl, Yuri. Meanwhile, the gold digger, Lee Ha, who used to treat him like dirt, is now shamelessly throwing herself at him. But Jinwoo is totally unimpressed. He only cares about his sweet new ride. No more hitching rides like a peasant. Just then, Yuri walks over, teasingly asking if this is the quote-unquote rental car he was talking about. Jinwoo has a hilarious excuse ready, claiming he works for the campus legend, Yonggi Hong. He says the car and money belong to his boss. It is a perfect cover to hide his billionaire status. Yuri finds the story suspicious, but decides to go along with it. Jinwoo offers her a ride, but mid-drive, she gets an urgent call from her dad, who is rushing off to the United Kingdom. Apparently, there is an emergency with the upcoming Brexit vote. Suddenly, the word Brexit triggers a wild vision from Jinwoo's inner eagle. He swerves hard, almost crashing his beautiful new car into a truck. Yuri is terrified. Jinwoo apologizes, claiming he was just momentarily distracted. After pulling over, he carefully asks what her dad has to do with Brexit. Turns out, her father is a high-profile international financier. Hearing this, Jinwoo suddenly announces he has a massive crisis to deal with. Yuri does not even get mad. She is officially used to her mysterious crush running away at a moment's notice. His vision was crystal clear. Brexit is actually going to happen. He immediately rings up his partner in crime, telling him to gather every scrap of data on the United Kingdom right now. Back at the house, Taeku reports that their video game investment is printing money and making fans happy. Jinwoo nods but says he is chasing a much bigger target. He reveals that the United Kingdom is about to leave the European Union, and he plans to make a fortune off it. Taeku is confused, so Jinwoo gives him the quick breakdown. The United Kingdom never truly fit in anyway. They want their financial independence back. So, what happens if the vote passes? Jinwoo lays out the ultimate troll move. The euro and the pound will crash, throwing global markets into absolute chaos, and that is exactly where we strike. His friend asks how on earth they can invest during a massive financial collapse. But Jinwoo just smirks. They have done this before, except this time, they are targeting the global financial market, not just one company. And unlike with the L6 shutdown, they have a giant advantage. Jinwoo knows the exact date of the historic vote, June 23rd. It is the absolute perfect setup, and this time, they are bringing way more cash and firepower than before. Later, Jinwoo meets his team at the airport, thanking the girls for flying in on short notice. He brings everyone, including Park Sang-yup, to a fancy restaurant to talk strategy. Ellie explains that public opinion in the United Kingdom is totally divided and incredibly tense. But she is convinced the exit vote will fail, since all the major polls say so. Hyunju agrees, pointing out that leaving the European Union would cause major economic chaos and massive diplomatic risks. She adds that big players like Golden Gate are already planning to pack up and move their headquarters to Germany or France if the vote passes. Since this whole thing is such a giant gamble, she asks Jinwoo why he is so interested. So Jinwoo drops his master plan. He wants to use his startup shares as collateral for a giant loan, then bet every single penny on Brexit passing. The team immediately calls him completely insane. It is a massive gamble, and all the experts say it is going to fail. Jinwoo knows the risks, but he cannot tell them about his cheat code eagle vision. He already knows the future, so he has to win over his team without letting slip that he has literal cheat codes. Naturally, they all think he is crazy because every single expert predicts a Remain vote. But Jinwoo argues that those fancy suits are usually full of hot air. He points out the quiet voters, the ones who hide their real thoughts until they are actually casting their ballots. Besides money, there is a massive cultural clash with Germany. Many British folks absolutely hate being bossed around by their historical rivals in the European Union. Jinwoo explains he has a secret plan to weaponize this resentment, but he needs his whole crew to blindly trust him. The girls are still sweating bullets over this insane risk, and Ellie demands to know why he is gambling everything on this single trade. That question triggers a memory of an old promise with a friend, back when they swore to go all in until the bitter end. For Jinwoo, it is not just about making extra cash, it is about pushing his cheat code abilities to the absolute limit, win or lose. He tells them this chance is way too juicy to ignore, and he is going all the way. But Sanop drops a cold truth bomb. If this backfires, both of Jinwoo's companies are toast. Jinwoo just smiles, completely unfazed. If we crash and burn, we will simply rebuild from nothing, just like Sangyap did back in the day. Hearing this, Sangyap gets a reality check. He realized he got too soft in his fancy chair and forgot his hungry, underdog roots. He is officially in. Now Hyunju knows she cannot stop this crazy train, so she and the team reluctantly sign up for the ride. Our guy knows they think he is clinically insane right now, but that doubt will vanish the second his prediction hits real. With his team finally on board, he declares it is game time to rake in the cash. Shortly after, you and I see OTK borrow $10 billion and dump it all on Brexit actually passing. This massive gamble instantly shocks the London currency market, leaving British bankers scrambling to figure out what is going on. Even wilder, they are desperate to know why a nobody startup is suddenly dumping insane money into United Kingdom stocks. And the chaos does not stop in London. OTK is sending shockwaves straight to the Tokyo Stock Exchange too. Even the Japanese finance experts cannot guess what a tiny tech investor is trying to pull off here. Back in the office, our guy tells Taiku that this is not some random gamble, but a calculated chess move. Taiku gets the point. We are betting the British pound crashes while the Japanese yen skyrockets, while the entire planet bets the other way. Jinwoo says that is a totally natural response. When an outsider drops that much cash, the local government and central bank will always fight back hard. It is just like 1992, when the legendary George Soros pulled a fast one and literally broke the British economy. Back then, the Bank of England took a devastating hit and almost abandoned their own money. But Soros, being the mastermind, had borrowed a mountain of pounds before the crash. He repaid the loan after the currency tanked, pocketing a cool $1 billion in profit. But of course, Soros did not play alone. His crew also targeted Thailand and Indonesia, sparking a massive Asian financial meltdown that crushed multiple nations. Taiku asks if Soros was the real villain behind the famous IMF crisis in South Korea. Jinwoo says the situation was way more complicated, but confirms that OTK is about to pull the exact same stunt, so they better brace for major backlash. Taiki is ready to ride or die, but he still wonders if stealing $100 billion from another nation is morally right. Our hero argues that a mighty empire has plenty of ways to bounce back. The British and their allies will be up and running again in no time, and he is spot on. Pretty soon, other market sharks realize OTK is betting big on Brexit, and they frantically start copying his homework. At London Stock Exchange, an insider notices the British pound rate climbing as massive hedge funds panic buy. The big boss notes that OTK is still aggressively pushing their bet, even as the chaos settles down, making us wonder if these guys are actually trying to fight the entire planet. Back with Jinwoo, Taiku points out that they are swimming completely upstream against the market trend, which feels totally different from what Soros did back then. But Jinwoo says it is the exact opposite. Ultimately, the ones pulling the trigger on Britain's downfall will be the voters themselves. Sometime afterwards, our boy gets a phone call during a quiet stroll. It is the legendary Chase Southwell, wanting to talk about OTK's wild moves. He admits Jinwoo is a certified genius, but warns him that he is playing a very lonely game this time. As a buddy, he begs Jinwoo to run while he still can. Our guy is just happy the legendary Chase Southwell actually considers him a pal. Still, he calmly explains he is seeing this massive play through to the absolute finish, promising Chase will get it once the votes are counted. Until then, he asks his prominent friend to stay on the sidelines. Chase Southwell respects the hustle and wishes him luck, then immediately calls his United Kingdom branch with a simple, chilling order. He has a hunch that things are about to get wild, so they should just stand back and watch. Meanwhile, over at K Company, Young Hong is totally chickening out, whining that this bet is too extreme. Sang, Yap admits he was shivering in his boots too, but he already leveraged trillions of won under K Company to gamble on high-stakes derivatives, a move he never dreamed of pulling. At this stage, all they can do is pray the plan works. The voting day finally arrives. Taiku is sweating bullets in front of his TV, while Jinwoo is casually prepping for class. Taiku cannot believe he is walking to lectures when his entire empire is on the line. Jinwoo just shrugs, saying watching the screen will not change the votes anyway. Besides, he does not have to. He already knows what is going to go down. But Taiku is vibrating with anxiety. Even with the prediction, he is a total mess with his life savings on the line. He begs Jinwoo to promise they will still be best friends, even if they lose everything. Jinwoo laughs it off, telling him to chill out because it is not going to happen. Jinwoo strolls onto campus and bumps into Yuri. She cute pouts, confessing she could not sleep a wink because she was too stressed about this scary Brexit vote, almost skipping class entirely. Just then, they run into Siona and her boyfriend, Junyang. Siona smirks, teasingly pointing out that Yuri is basically glued to Jinwoo's side lately, asking if they are dating. Yuri blushes, stammering that Jinwoo is just really attentive to her. Meanwhile, Junyang has heard whispers that Jinwoo is tight with K Company's chief executive, asking for a quick meeting, and Jinwoo casually agrees to pitch the idea. Later, Jinwoo spots some classmates running a silly betting pool on the Brexit outcome. They playfully challenge him to join, and Jinwoo throws his money on the United Kingdom, leaving the European Union. His peers are shocked, since literally everyone else bet they would stay. Junhyang strolls up and smugly bets on remaining. Not wanting to miss the fun, Yuri decides to copy Jinwoo. Sona asks if she has completely lost her mind, but Yuri insists she is sure. She blindly trusts Jinwoo, claiming he always somehow magically gets these things right. Meanwhile, as the actual vote begins, the Remain side takes an early lead. Over at the headquarters, Park Sang-yap is losing his mind as his team completely panics. Desperate, he steps out to dial Jinwoo. Mid-lecture, Yuri points out that Jinwoo's phone is constantly vibrating. Jinwoo looks down and sees spam calls are from Hyunju. He steps out to answer, suddenly breaking a sweat. If Hyunju is calling now, things are going sideways fast. Did his future cheat code finally glitch? But then, boom, a massive vision slams right into his brain. The future is crystal clear. Brexit is happening, 100%. Meanwhile, Hyunju is literally hyperventilating on the phone, begging him to pull out right now to minimize the damage while they still can. All she needs is his green light. But Jinwoo? Entirely locked in. He casually orders her to short the remaining $3 billion with a 50 times multiplier. Yeah, Hyunju is officially about to have an aneurysm. She basically calls him insane. And honestly, Jinwoo does not blame her. But with zero time to explain, he just begs her to have some blind faith, swearing on his life that Brexit is absolutely going down. She hangs up and immediately goes searching for alcohol. When Ellie asks if this is our main character's fault, Hyunju sighs. She has to obey the boss, but she definitely cannot do this sober. She hates it, but orders are orders. Ellie takes one look at the sheer scale of Jinwoo's crazy bet and instantly realizes he is going all in. Her reaction? Pour me a double shot too. Now Park Sang-yap calls, trying desperately to talk some sense into him before the voting blocks close. But Jinwoo delivers the ultimate blow. It is too late. He already pulled the trigger on selling everything. There is no undo button here, sending Sang-yap into absolute panic mode. Jinwoo tries to play it cool, saying he has got this covered, but admits he really needs his squad to back him up. Meanwhile, over in England, people are already popping champagne, totally sure they are staying in Europe. The big boss at the London Exchange smugly asks if that Korean company is still holding their dumb position. His team confirms they are, but laughs it off as a massive joke. The boss assumes some stubborn idiot at the top is just throwing money away, completely pitying the poor employees. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is sweating. Even with cheat codes, the sheer pressure of billions on the line is no joke. But just as he is spiraling, Siona spots him outside. Class is done, and she wants to know why he is brooding. He says he is just trying to clear his head. To cheer him up, Siona drops a bomb. He won their little bet. The votes are in, and Brexit actually passed. He did it. The future was right. This does not just make him rich, it breaks the global economy. You and I can only watch as the London Exchange turns into an absolute horror movie while the pound crashes. As the currency takes a massive nosedive, the team lead, William, realizes those crazy Koreans never back down. He sighs, knowing England has a brand new financial villain to absolutely despise. The world is in chaos. As the insane news spreads like wildfire, Yoon Gi-hong realizes his boss is a straight-up genius. He is ready to dedicate his entire life to the man who took this impossible gamble. Elsewhere, Ellie is ecstatic. She runs to celebrate their legendary win, asking Hyunju if she has called the golden boy yet. But Hyunju is totally drained from the stress, practically begging Ellie to make the phone call instead. Across the globe, Chase Southwell stares at the mind-blowing numbers and admits he totally underestimated Jinwoo. He knows that with a god-tier stunt like this, our boy cannot hide in the shadows for long. Regret is useless now, so Chase decides it is way safer to be Jinwoo's best friend than his worst nightmare. He immediately calls his team, ordering them to open up a brand new branch in Korea. They need that office running yesterday. Thanks to this insane Brexit play, K Company nets nearly 6 trillion won, while OTK Company rockets to a jaw-dropping 45 trillion won. Tae-oh is celebrating hard. He is partying until a sudden realization hits him. Jinwoo is literally the wealthiest man in the entire country now. Our guy had not even realized it, assuming that title belonged to Samsung's big boss. But yep, his friend is totally right. The global news is absolutely obsessed with this mysterious shadow company that just made trillions. Tae-oh points out they have done this before, but Jinwoo worries. This time, it is way worse. A massive mob of furious British citizens has basically declared war on them. Tae-oh jokes they are officially more hated than George Soros now, so maybe avoid vacationing in London. No trips to England, and they are golden. Right on cue, Park Sang-yeop calls in. The poor guy could not even get into his own office building because a massive swarm of reporters blocked the doors. He desperately needs a game plan. While Jinwoo watches the TV, a massive new headline pops up. Golden Gate is officially launching a branch in Korea. Jinwoo is completely blindsided by the sudden move. But then he remembers his chat with Chase, realizing this is a loud and clear message meant just for him. Tae-oh immediately starts stressing about his sister, since she used to run the entire Asian division. Jinwoo tells him to chill, predicting she and Ellie will just get reassigned to the new local office. And he is dead right. Hyunju receives the official letter sending her back to her home country. Chase tells her she is running the entire show with total control. She is officially the new director of Golden Gate Korea. Talk about a major promotion. Sometime later, Jinwoo heads out. He visits the K Company office to check on his stressed-out partner and immediately gets swarmed by a pack of hungry journalists. He knew he would be famous one day, just not this soon. Surprisingly, they do not care about him. They just want to use him as bait to drag out the mysterious CEO. Jinwoo smoothly dodges them, claiming he has a college class to attend, and walks away. Hiding out at Tae-oh's place, Sang-yeop groans that his phone is ringing off the hook. He has to change his number, his house is surrounded, and he might have to move. Tae-oh tells him to relax. He orders some takeout to calm his nerves. Once Sang-yeop is fed and relaxed, he asks Jinwoo how he had the absolute guts to pull that bet off, admitting he would never have that kind of courage. Jinwoo just shrugs, calling it a calculated risk, and asks if Sang-yeop has ever thought about playing in a truly chaotic market. Sang-yeop admits he has actually been eyeing the world of cryptocurrency lately. It is wild, unregulated, and incredibly unstable, yet everyone is throwing money at it. Tae-oh chimed in with some knowledge, pointing out that most people do not buy crypto as an investment. Instead, they use it to hide cash from governments. You and I know it is basically digital gold, not some stock to trade daily. Suddenly, a massive vision hits him. His Golden Eagle spirit guide activates, revealing the next grand play, Ethereum mining. He immediately asks Tae-oh what he knows about the coin. Tae-oh explains it is a newer coin with smart contracts. It handles automated deals, not just trades, but he is highly skeptical. They already own an exchange, and Ethereum is worth 10 times less than Bitcoin. Jinwoo argues that to win, they must think bigger. They need to buy massive amounts of Ethereum and grab Bitcoin on the side. He even suggests they start mining the coins themselves. Tae-oh points out that would require a gargantuan setup. The power bills alone would be absolutely astronomical. But Jinwoo has the perfect solution: just build it in a freezing country with dirt-cheap electricity. Sang-yeop can only stare in disbelief. They literally just survived a heart-stopping, multi-billion-dollar gamble, and now Jinwoo wants to leap straight into another crazy risk. Jinwoo promises he has a master plan and will share details later. Sometime later, Jinwoo is sitting in college. The professor is lecturing them to study hard for finals, warning that good grades are crucial now that Golden Gate is recruiting top students in Korea. He mentions it is bizarre they chose Gangnam for their headquarters instead of the usual financial districts. Jinwoo finds it super weird, too. Massive firms usually set up office in central Seoul. He thinks back to his chat with the Golden Gate higher up, wondering if they made this weird move specifically for him. Just then, Yuri nudges him, asking why his gears are turning so loudly. He quickly brushes it off as nothing. The professor snaps at both of them to shut up during his lecture, making Jinwoo blush in embarrassment. Yuri, on the other hand, is just thrilled. She is just happy to be sitting right next to her crush. But all Jinwoo can focus on is that today the Golden Gate crew finally lands in Korea, and he really should welcome them. Later that day, he and Tae-oh roll up to the airport. They are absolutely stunned by a massive wall of paparazzi, a wild welcome usually saved for top idols. Then, Tae-oh spots the target, and walking right through the gate is his beautiful sister. Our boy freezes when a reporter asks Hyunju how she feels being the first Korean to lead the new Golden Gate branch. Jinwoo and Taeku are totally blindsided by this bombshell. Suddenly, Ellie pulls Jinwoo aside, whispering how much she missed him, but warning him to act natural. With thirsty media everywhere, his secret identity cannot be exposed. Right now, Hyunju quickly chimes in that her major promotion was supposed to be top secret. She has zero clue who leaked it, but says this is not the place. Later, back home, Taeku immediately starts teasing his sister for keeping her big career move a secret. She sighs, explaining she wanted to tell them face to face, but the annoying press ruined it. Jinwoo congratulates her, but she playfully shifts all the credit to him. Honestly, the epic startups he secretly built are what forced Golden Gate to launch in Korea anyway. And plot twist, Ellie is joining the new team, too. She is taking over the legal department, claiming the big bosses just needed her brilliant legal brain. Hyunju gives her the ultimate side-eye, asking if that is the real reason she insisted on flying over. Super flustered, Ellie stammers that she just wanted to work with her bestie. Sensing the spicy romantic tension, Jinwoo smoothly steps in, hyping up their squad being reunited. At last, Hyunju mentions she is totally exhausted, unable to sleep a wink on the plane because of massive files she had to review. Her brother begs her to relax, but she just laughs and admits she is a proud workaholic. Shifting gears, she asks if they secured a nice corporate headquarters. Jinwoo confesses they are still searching. Conveniently, Hyunju knows a prime building next door selling for 500 billion won. Taeku practically chokes on the price, wondering why Golden Gate is selling. His sister explains they desperately need immediate capital to fund this sudden Korean expansion. Plus, they are not selling to some random stranger. This is a special VIP favor for Jinwoo. Naturally, our wealthy main character agrees to buy it right away. He instructs Hyunju to purchase it under K Company. But secretly, he knows this massive tower will become the ultimate fortress for OTK. Since K Company has a home, setting up right next to Golden Gate is a major power flex. With that out of the way, Hyunju gets dead serious. K Company is trending after Brexit, and she is famous now. She looks at Jinwoo, asking how long he plans on hiding in the dark. He explains that the Korean alliance of politics, big business, and media is one giant corrupt cartel. If his name gets leaked, they will tear him to pieces. So his strategy is simple. If you cannot beat them, take them over. Ellie asks if he is seriously challenging Korea's elite family conglomerates. Jinwoo nods, with a smirk. He has suffered under their thumbs for too long, and now it is payback time. Hyunju warns him that the automotive industry is Korea's spine, meaning the government will protect it. But Jinwoo is locked in, calmly stating that politics is just another type of business transaction. Taeku and Ellie immediately pledge their loyalty, ready to poke the biggest hornet's nest in history. With his trusted squad fully behind him, Jinwoo reveals the next phase, a quick flight to America to inspect the Karo's headquarters. Sometime later, Jinwoo is walking around campus when he spots Yoongi Hong. Yoongi Hong is absolutely beaming, instantly bragging about his fantastic new job. He boasts that the startup was totally insignificant initially, but now his boss just bought a massive tower in Gangnam. He recalls how Park Sang-yop promised to buy real estate on Tehran Road, which he laughed off back then. Yet here they are, 18 months later, living the dream. He brags they bought it cheap, with pure cash. He urges Jinwoo to hurry up and graduate so he can join this gold mine. Hearing this epic flex, nearby math students gather around, desperate for rumors about the legendary corporate leader, Park Sang-yop. Yoongi Hong confidently whips out his company credit card, offering to treat everyone to drinks. Jinwoo can only smirk, realizing his employee is spending his money with zero clue who his real boss is. Just then, Siona approaches. She mentions seeing him at a party after his military service, pointing out that he looks completely different and asking what changed. Jinwoo instantly cuts her off, coldly saying his life is none of her business. He definitely does not owe her any answers. Having dated her in the past, Jinwoo knows Siona is way too dangerously sharp. One wrong word could blow his entire cover, so he tries to escape. Luckily, Yuri suddenly struts over and asks him out to celebrate surviving their brutal exams together. Siona reads the room and retreats, but promises they will finish this intriguing chat another time. Yuri playfully brags about rescuing him from the ex-girlfriend, demanding to be properly repaid for her heroic rescue. Jinwoo can only sigh, realizing his life is suddenly overrun by incredibly perceptive women. He tells her his schedule is packed because of a trip with a friend. Meanwhile, another student named Han Jian is gossiping about Jinwoo. He and his buddy are desperately trying to crack the code on how Jinwoo went from dead broke to filthy rich. Their amateur investigation connects the Oh brothers and Park Sang-yap, but his partner Junyoung feels like they have hit a solid brick wall. That is when he points out that Hwang Young's father is Korea's prime minister. He could easily dig up the real truth about Jinwoo. As for Jinwoo, he is relaxing on a first-class flight to America with Taeku. While his partner snoozes, Jinwoo dives into the crucial intelligence documents prepared by Hyunju. He quickly notices that Korea's massive automotive giant, Hyundai, has its fingers in way more than just cars. Forcing an economic collapse within this monster corporation would be absolutely catastrophic, far worse than the fall of Samsung. The economic damage to his homeland would be truly devastating. But even with that danger, Jinwoo has no plans to retreat. Touching down in San Francisco, they are greeted by Henry Smith, a representative sent from Golden Gate. Smith says his boss ordered him to drive them to their hotel to rest. But Jinwoo rejects the offer completely. He is not here to waste valuable time. He wants to get straight to work. So they head directly to the Kairos office in Silicon Valley to meet with Daryl Shawn. The CEO mentions he has been following their legendary Brexit plays, admitting it provided a massive boost to Kairos. Taeku shrugs it off, acting like it was just a regular day of trading. But Shawn grins, calling it a total lifesaver that gave them a massive runway to expand operations. He then shows Jinwoo the giant supercomputers they use for artificial intelligence development, promising a cool demonstration later on. For now, though, it is time for their big scheduled meeting. Stepping into the conference room, they face the Kairos crew, including Sergey and Ryan. Taeku whispers that the room feels freezing cold, but Jinwoo knows the tech staff is probably shocked by their youth, since they expected ancient, graying billionaires. Scanning the latest charts, Jinwoo spots the critical issue immediately. Every single dollar invested so far has yielded zero actual results. He finally sees why Hyundai bailed. Honestly, if he did not possess cheat code knowledge of the future, he would have made the exact same decision. Shawn quickly gets defensive, claiming their system has to be flawless, otherwise they are just another generic face in a saturated driverless car market. Jinwoo nods at that theory, but bluntly points out that moving at this snail's pace means they will never actually launch. Shawn sighs and shares a potential lifeline, revealing partnership offers from automotive giants like Daimler, Toyota, and even Hyundai. The catch? They all demand a fat slice of Kairos equity. Shawn tries to explain that even the smartest software is completely useless without physical machinery. He needs a car to actually test his artificial intelligence. Jinwoo can see the boss is already sold on the idea, but firmly states he has zero intention of diluting his own personal ownership of the business. The Kairos engineers instantly look annoyed, arguing they cannot scale without a giant partner. But Jinwoo drops a wild alternative. If they refuse to bow down to a massive conglomerate, then there is only one logical path. Kairos must manufacture its very own car. Shawn laughs, pointing out the absolute nightmare of hardware. It is just as complex and expensive as software, and they do not even have a single automotive engineer. Taeku confidently smiles, arguing that the board is ready to dump truckloads of cash into their new car project. But as you and I can guess, Shawn is not buying the hype. Cash cannot fix stupid, especially when they do not even have a budget yet. That is when Jinwoo drops a logic bomb. Why build a car company from scratch when you can just buy one? The estimated cash needed is only about $30 billion, totally pocket change, right? He tells them to trust the process because he has a wild plan. Next, he and Taeku head back to their hotel. Taeku immediately complains that their room is way too massive for just two guys. Henry, their host, tells them to get some rest and vanishes. Once they are finally alone, Taeku asks if they have picked their shopping target yet. Jinwoo explains the big brain politics. Buying an American car giant will shake up the local economy, meaning the greedy government will definitely stick its nose where it does not belong. Take Tesla, for example. Everyone laughed at their electric cars, but now they are absolutely bullying the legacy giants. Jinwoo wants a piece of that sweet electric action. Since they are swimming in cash from their last scheme, the timing is brilliant. But Taeku thinks a good steak might make their brains work better. They track down Henry, who promises to show them a legendary steak joint. He asks if his grandfather can tag along, and Jinwoo gladly agrees to foot the entire bill. Shortly after, they are placing their orders at the restaurant when the grandfather finally shows up. Henry introduces the old man to our Korean duo. The old fella is hyped to meet the boss of OTK. saying he heard all the gossip from his buddy Southwell. Jinwoo is stunned that this random senior citizen knows his name. Henry quickly apologizes for keeping secrets. Turns out, his grandpa is James Clark Goldman, the legendary chief of Golden Gate. Jinwoo plays it cool, joking that making friends with Southwell is finally paying off. Goldman admits he sprinted over the moment he heard these Korean legends landed in America. That is when Jinwoo realizes that Henry's airport greeting was not some random nice gesture. The sneaky old man used his own grandson as bait. For a Wall Street legend to chase down two Korean guys, they must be doing something right. Still, Jinwoo plays his cards close, to his chest, and the old man totally gets it. Goldman claims he hates the spotlight too. But then, he drops a massive bombshell. He actually has no clue how to invest. His legendary market instincts are apparently a total myth. He has been dodging the public just to avoid getting exposed, confessing the modern market is way too wild for him now. Turns out, his biggest wins were just ideas he stole, approved from his international branch managers. His real talent is not staring at boring stock charts all day. His true gift is spotting genius human cheat codes. And right now, he has locked eyes on his next golden goose. Goldman admits he has been stalking OTK for a while. He is incredibly impressed that Taeku was the first one to spot Jinwoo's genius. Jinwoo humble brags and passes the credit back to his buddy. The old man is basically crying tears of bromance. He asks if they can all be best friends now. They immediately agree, because you do not say no to a billionaire. As they clink glasses, Jinwoo knows this is a major win. This kind of heavy elite connection is going to unlock insane cheat codes later. The next day, the car hunt begins. Jinwoo warns that they must move like ninjas. Spilling the tea too early will alert the giant auto bosses. He reveals the play. They need to conquer America first, because self-driving tech is currently super illegal back home. But Jinwoo is playing the long game. He knows the second a massive giant like Hyundai joins the race, the politicians will magically rewrite the laws to favor them. Taeku points out the ultimate catch. Every car brand on the market is either flat broke or has garbage technology. Nobody sells gold for cheap. Right on cue, Henry shows up with a letter from his grandpa. Jinwoo reads the message, and as you and I can see, it is a massive hint. He flips on the television to see breaking news. Donald Trump is running for president. Goldman's secret memo warned him that this election is going to break the auto market. Jinwoo connects the dots instantly. He needs to bet on the next leader. $1 billion tip like this is absolute gold. Taeku explains that the Democrats are running Hillary Clinton, a seasoned political giant with decades of experience in the game. Next to her, Trump looks like a bored, rich billionaire just doing random political side quests. Taeku cannot wrap his head around how this guy is even a top contender. But Jinwoo explains that Trump is a master of telling people exactly what they want to hear, and he is self-funding the chaos. Taeku points out that betting on the safe winner is boring anyway. Besides, they cannot rig this election like they rigged Brexit. The polls show Hillary is an absolute lock to win, cruising with a comfortable double-digit lead. Suddenly, Jinwoo gets a massive future sight brain blast, and his face completely drops. Taeku notices the instant panic and asks what just popped up. Shaking, Jinwoo reveals he has seen the future. It is not a prediction, it is a spoiler. Donald Trump is going to win. Taeku points out that Hillary has a cheat code lead, but politics is wild. Jinwoo smiles, calling themselves the ultimate cheat code wildcard. He compares this crazy election to a high-stakes poker match where everyone is sweating, waiting for the final card. Hillary has a massive four-of-a-kind, a basically invincible hand that makes her look like a sure winner. No random garbage card can improve her spot. Trump, however, has a strong hand but is missing the final piece. Jinwoo suggests that OTK might be the exact trump card he needs to sweep. Taeku is down for the chaos, seeing zero issues with it, but Jinwoo is stressed that a Trump presidency will break the entire global economy. Taeku brutally reminds him that they literally got rich off exploding smartphones and a British market crash. Taeku tells him to stop playing the hero. The time for acting like good guys is long gone, and it is time to secure the bag. Just like that, Jinwoo is sold. He agrees to the plan, but wants to play it safe by meeting both candidates first. Meanwhile, Hillary is busy hyping herself up in a Wall Street Journal interview, pretending she is going to save America. In reality, she is just farming campaign donations from rich donors. The second the cameras turn off, she tells her strategist Joel to stop booking any more boring press meetings. Back in Jinwoo's corner, he gets some bad news. Hillary rejected them completely, but Henry reports that Trump is currently in Los Angeles and has agreed to a brief 15-minute chat before his flight. Henry has no clue why they are wasting time with a meme candidate, but Jinwoo tells him to just watch. Shortly after, they are getting thoroughly patted down by security at the secret venue. Inside, Trump immediately brags that he only agreed to meet because Hillary rejected them. He admits he was just curious to see the masterminds behind OTK, but is shocked to find an incredibly young Asian guy running the show. Jinwoo thinks it is hilarious that Trump calls himself a simple businessman, a label his haters use to mock him. It completely confirms Jinwoo's theory. Trump just views politics as another massive hustle. Trump asks who Jinwoo's quiet friend is, so Jinwoo introduces Taeku as his right-hand man. Skipping the boring talk, Trump asks what they want, and Jinwoo says he wants to fund his campaign. Trump sneers, asking if Jinwoo thinks he is losing and just wants to throw money at him. But you and I know how US politics works. It is literally pay to win, and the candidate with the most in politics, money talks, and Donald Trump's war chest is looking pretty empty compared to Hillary's massive backers. Even with his billions, he is totally outmatched. But Jinwoo has other plans, something way more powerful than cash. He straight up guarantees Trump the presidency. Sure, Trump is currently tanking in the polls, and if this keeps up, he is going to lose hard. Trump laughs it off, claiming polls are fake news, but he is definitely curious. Jinwoo plays his hand, bringing up Trump's major campaign promise to revive American manufacturing and create jobs. He points out that politicians always lie about bringing back jobs, but he is here to actually make it happen. Trump, now fully intrigued, asks for specifics. Jinwoo promises to make his dream real. All Trump has to do is say yes. The future president is completely speechless. Who would have thought? Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Hyunju is having an absolute meltdown because the media is exploding. She demands to know why on earth they are backing Donald Trump of all people. Her brother immediately throws Jinwoo under the bus, claiming he just trusted his buddy. But Hyunju points out the danger. Trump isn't just thanking them. He is using their cash to fuel insane conspiracies and wild rumors. Jinwoo just shrugs it off. He argues a Trump win is perfect because of his promises to the auto industry. But that only works if the guy actually wins. She snaps back, and every single poll says he is toast. Jinwoo just smiles. He is absolutely sure of Trump's victory. He wouldn't bet on a loser. He explains that the American electoral college system is weird, meaning popular vote polls are basically useless. Hyunju sees he is serious, but she still thinks he is crazy. This is a terrible idea. Cut to a massive rally, where Donald Trump is doing what he does best. He yells that Hillary is selling the country out, while he will make the economy great again. Suddenly, a woman in the crowd heckles him, calling him a liar because he just partnered with OTK, a foreign company. Trump doesn't even flinch. He admits it, but says he had to. No American company wanted to help him. Then, he drops the mic. He is taking $20 billion from OTK to reopen closed factories in Detroit and bring back thousands of jobs. The heckler still isn't buying the hype, accusing him of making empty promises. To prove he is for real, Trump pulls a wild card and invites the governor of Michigan to the stage. And yes, he is from the rival political party. Governor Butler steps up and confirms it is all true. They are already in talks with OTK, and the cash will flow soon. Trump vows to save America, even if he has to make deals with rivals or foreigners. The crowd goes wild. Watching from home, Jinwoo feels like he is watching a rock concert. The guy has style. Now, it's a waiting game to see how Hillary's team reacts. Next up, Jinwoo sits down with Karos to lay out his master plan for the American car market. He will keep their lab in Silicon Valley, but the headquarters are moving straight to Detroit. Sagan asks if this means they are getting eaten by a manufacturing giant. Jinwoo laughs. Quite the opposite. Karos is buying a car manufacturer. This turns them from a simple software developer into a massive, full-scale vehicle builder, with OTK pulling the strings. Jinwoo looks Sagan in the eye, saying he has total faith in his potential. Under his leadership, this will make them all filthy rich. And then, he drops another bomb. He reveals he isn't just a basic rep. He is actually the big boss, the CEO of OTK, and his buddy is the chief operating officer. He promises to stay out of their tech development. He trusts them completely. Sagan is deeply touched and promises not to let him down. That's when Jinwoo announces they are raising Karos' capital to $20 billion, and the executive team gets a sweet 4% cut of that. Sagan has zero objections. He knows that to dominate, they need to build their own cars, not outsource the hard work. Since Karos is American, this was bound to happen anyway. To celebrate, Taeku suggests ordering pizza. Sagan hypes up a brand new joint in Silicon Valley called M Pizza. Taeku's eyes go wide. M Pizza? Isn't that the exact company they literally just bought out? His absolute first thought? Hey, do we get a shareholder discount on these slices? Back at the hotel, Jinwoo reveals the next target Chrysler. Honestly, you and I are about to watch him pull off the ultimate business move. It is going to be magnificent. The nightmare began after a disastrous failed merger. Fiat had stepped in with a bailout, forming the TPA group. Taeku is confused. How does a merger of two massive giants fail this badly? Jinwoo explains the sad truth. They never cracked the European market. When two drowning companies tie themselves together, they just sink twice as fast. Henry chimed in with more bad news. They didn't even share car parts, destroying their margins. Broke and desperate, they fell way behind on electric and self-driving tech. Which means, if Karos buys them out, they can rewrite history. They can totally rebuild the company. Jinwoo is hyped and wants to book a flight to Detroit, but Henry tells him to relax. He leads them outside to a brand new private jet. It is theirs now, anytime they want. On board, they raise their glasses, but Henry cuts right to the chase. Does Jinwoo actually think Trump can win? Jinwoo is completely sure. He asks why Henry is doubting. Henry points out that their endorsement has turned the entire race upside down, and he wants to know the plan. Jinwoo just tells him to have patience, just a little patience. Later, they meet up with Ellie and Hyunju, who look like walking corpses. Hyunju blames it on OTK's insane pace. Jinwoo apologizes and introduces Henry. The ladies are completely stunned to shake hands with the grandson of their boss's boss. Henry immediately turns on his smooth charm, totally staring at Ellie. Taeku quietly nudges Jinwoo, giggling, warning him that Henry might steal his girl first. Jinwoo, the ultimate dense protagonist, is only thinking about business. Hyunju gets right to it. The factory land is ours, complete with major tax breaks. TPA reps are on their way right now. She is not worried about the talks. TPA is desperate to ditch this money-losing monster. Her actual fear? The US election. The whole world is watching this circus. Back in Korea, everyone thinks Trump has zero chance of winning. Even worse, Trump's big mouth leaked that OTK owns Karos, bringing massive unwanted attention. But Jinwoo sees a silver lining. Having powerful American allies is key to their final goal, taking down the biggest conglomerate in Korea. And having the president on their side? Total game changer. Hyunju sighs, repeating that this only works if Trump actually pulls off a miracle. But she knows Jinwoo too well to argue. Ellie giggles, saying she will just trust her boss's crazy plans. Taeku nods, saying he is in for the ride. Suddenly, Henry's phone buzzes, his eyes widen. It is a direct meeting request from none other than Hillary Clinton's campaign office. Sent through Golden Gate, he asks if Jinwoo wants to take it. Jinwoo is definitely down, curious to see what they want. Soon, Jinwoo and Ellie are sitting across from her chief of staff. Joel gets straight to the point. Hillary loves their investments, but wants them to stall on signing the deal. Jinwoo chuckles, asking what he gets out of this. Since everything is already good to go, Joel tries to smooth talk him with politics. Most Rust Belt governors are Democrats, and a Hillary win is best for business. As president, she can pass extremely favorable laws with local backing. He admits his only job is to get her elected, and with OTK on their side, it is a guaranteed win. Jinwoo smiles, saying he is open to a deal, but trust is everything. He asks how big Hillary's heart is. Joel promises she is incredibly generous. If OTK officially endorses her, she has his full backing. Jinwoo immediately shuts him down. He already promised Trump, and he values loyalty above all else. Ellie asks why he turned down such a sweet deal. Jinwoo laughs because you and I know politicians never keep their word. Since Donald Trump is a ruthless businessman, you and I already know Jinwoo was ready to make an offer he couldn't refuse. But Ellie smells danger. If Trump loses this election, their entire American empire goes down in flames. Jinwoo just smiles. If Trump wins, they own the key to the kingdom, and even if he loses later, OTK will already be too big to fail, completely outgrowing the need for any political babysitters. Sometime later, a call comes in from Korea. It is Park Sang-yeop, reporting that K Company is finally in their new headquarters. He wants to know when Jinwoo is coming back, and Jinwoo promises a very swift return. He will explain the grand plan face to face. Meanwhile, Taeku tells the team to chill, playfully teasing his sister about her stiff office clothes. But she is not having any of his nonsense. She snaps back that she is always on the clock, classic workaholic behavior. Suddenly, Jinwoo's phone rings. It is the chief executive of Golden Gate, laughing about how OTK is shaking up the capital. Sure, Hillary seemed like the safe bet, but knowing Jinwoo's wild style, he is starting to doubt the polls. Jinwoo cracks a smile, thanking James for the assist in locking down his gamble on Trump. Then comes the real pitch. James wants Jinwoo to hire his grandson, Henry, at OTK. He hasn't even asked the kid yet, but he knows Henry will jump at the chance. Lately, he is your biggest fanboy. All Henry does is brag about working with the legendary Jinwoo. But James leaves him with a serious warning. Backing Trump so publicly puts a massive target on OTK. They need to watch their backs. Once the call ends, Jinwoo floats the idea to the crew. Taeku is totally on board since they need fresh blood, and Henry has been putting in work. Hyunju agrees, noting his elite background. As the heir to a financial empire, he is overqualified anyway. The offer goes out, and Henry accepts instantly. But there is no honeymoon phase. Hyunju immediately dumps a massive pile of chores on him, but Henry is just happy to be here, eagerly promising to give it his all. Hyunju quietly hopes that positive energy translates into actual results. Meanwhile, inside Korea's Blue House, a storm is brewing. The president calls in the chief of the National Intelligence Service. At first, she is proud that a local investment firm is dominating global markets. It looks great for the country. But there is a catch. Nobody knows where their starting cash actually came from. Suspicious, she commands a secret probe into K Company, hunting for illicit ties to North Korea. The intelligence director immediately gets to work. He finds zero traces of northern interference. But instead of stopping, he uses the official order as an excuse to illegally download every single file on K Company and OTK. This is where you and I get to watch a masterclass in failure. This genius leaps to the most spectacularly wrong conclusion ever. He decides Park Sang-yap is a dummy CEO, and Jinwoo is just his lazy, high-rolling secretary living large off his friend's hard work. Even better, he assumes Taeku is the hidden mastermind pulling all the strings behind OTK. Back at the Blue House, the president reads this and is stunned. The true genius is a college dropout? The director insists Taeku must be a secret prodigy. After all, looking at his sister's incredible track record, high intellect clearly runs in the family. The president has to admit it is possible. Real geniuses don't need fancy degrees, which explains Taeku's practically non-existent academic record. But she still cannot shake her suspicion of Jinwoo. There is no way this guy is just a useless slacker. They must have missed something big. The director warns that digging any deeper will require official warrants. The president thanks him and promises to pull a few strings to make it happen. Meanwhile, the chairman of Hyundai, Han Minggu, is studying OTK's latest moves. He has to respect the play buying Karos just to force a takeover of an automaker was brilliant. His son, the vice chairman, argues that despite Karos having elite technology, strict laws prevent them from actually building anything. But Minggu points out a massive loophole. If Trump takes office, he can change those laws instantly, giving OTK an overwhelming advantage. His son remains highly skeptical, pointing out that even if they grab a share of the American market, they will never survive back home in Korea. But Minggu snaps that this isn't about current sales. The shareholders are losing their minds because a former tiny investment is morphing into a terrifying competitor. He orders his son to shadow their every move. Right on cue, a heavyweight call comes in. It is the president, who knows Minggu is already tracking OTK and K Company. He shares the juicy details from the state's secret intelligence investigation. He makes it crystal clear that they must align and prepare to strike back with overwhelming force. Meanwhile, back in the States, the OTK crew is chilling on a coffee break when Jinwoo receives a bizarre message. A random number commands him to call back immediately using a secure local device. He borrows Henry's phone, dials, and hears Park Sang-yap on the other end, sounding incredibly tense. He warns everyone to throw away their phones and stop using real names because they are likely bugged. Then he drops the bomb. Federal prosecutors and tax agents just stormed K Company headquarters. Armed with an intelligence-backed search warrant, they are sweeping every hard drive and paper file in sight. Even worse, they are being charged with foreign exchange violations and a laundry list of crimes. The state is coming for anyone connected to the firm. Jinwoo immediately realizes this is no ordinary checkup, it is a full-blown government hit job. Fortunately, their core files are secured on offshore cloud servers. But Sang-yap is about to be dragged into interrogation. Jinwoo tells him to keep his head down and stay on this secure line. Hanging up, Jinwoo breaks the news to the crew. They are in deep trouble. When Henry hears about the state-sponsored raid, he is completely shocked that a government can just do that. Taeku shrugs, noting that Korean politics operate on a whole different level. Hyunwoo guesses the intelligence agency was tracking them beforehand and simply stumbled upon the OTK link by pure accident. But Jinwoo knows better. A strike this rapid and coordinated from the very top means only one thing passes behind it. Ellie is confused, having never heard of them. Taeku explains they manufacture auto parts like airbags, but he fails to see how that connects to their situation. Jinwoo connects the dots. 90% of their money comes straight from Hyundai, and the current president used to run Hyundai before entering politics. While legally barred from holding shares while in office, his family's fortunes are still completely bound to the automotive giant. Hyunwoo gets it instantly. The president is firing a warning shot. Cross his old family business, and you get flattened. Henry realizes the stakes. If Trump wins and erects tariff walls, foreign exporters suffer. Ellie finishes the thought the government is trying to completely cripple OTK, using K Company as a convenient punching bag. Jinwoo doesn't hesitate. He decides it is time to go back to Korea. With Sang-yap locked down, K Company needs a leader. The girls know they are stepping into a minefield, but they refuse to stay behind. The guys step up too, refusing to let Jinwoo face this alone. For Jinwoo, backing down was never an option. He is going to play this game to the bitter end. Before booking their flights, Jinwoo calls Donald Trump to brief him on the chaos. He promises the investments will stay on track and looks forward to a victory meeting after the election. Ellie shivers, realizing that if a future president tells you to be careful, things are incredibly dangerous. Jinwoo nods. The literal president of Korea is targeting them, meaning handcuffs are likely waiting at the airport. You and I might think they're crazy, but they are walking straight into this trap. But Jinwoo is playing chess. He hasn't broken a single law, so any detention will be brief. Besides, he always keeps an ace up his sleeve, preparing a solid contingency plan just in case. If things go completely sideways, Hyunju will take command. The Korean government won't dare lay a finger on an elite Golden Gate employee without causing a major diplomatic incident, keeping her perfectly safe. Taeku grins, knowing he and Jinwoo are the main targets, but he couldn't care less. They touch down in Korea, and at first, the airport is completely peaceful. Taeku thinks they overreacted, but Henry quietly bursts his bubble, pointing out several agents who have been tailing them for 10 straight minutes. Jinwoo doesn't flinch. He issues a final, absolute command to his squad. If he gets busted, the team has to keep grinding until the American elections wrap up. So, our boy prepares to go quietly. But plot twist. The agents walk right past him and grab Taeku instead. They slap cuffs on him, calling him the big boss of OTK and charging him with financial crimes. Hyunju is absolutely losing her mind, demanding to know what is going on. The agents just flash a warrant from the prosecutor's office. Jinwoo watches his buddy take the fall and tries to stop them, but Taeku stops him. He just smiles, says he is indeed the OTK chief, and tells Jinwoo to go finish the job. He even promises a victory dinner later. Talk about a legendary wingman. Outside, they meet Yoongi Hong, who explains their director got dragged in for questioning. Yoongi is told to take orders from Hyunju now, but he is seriously confused about why their fifth member is missing. Jinwoo tells him their buddy literally just got dragged to jail. He promises to explain later, but right now they just need to move. On the way home, Hyunju tries to process this madness. Honestly, it might be a blessing in disguise. Losing Jinwoo would have ruined everything, and she realized her brother knew that, which is why he took the bait. But now, best sister mode is activated. She orders her assistant to hire the most expensive lawyers. They are going to pay for this. They are going to pay big time. But when they arrive at K Company, the office is completely trashed. Hyunju explains that while Golden Gate got a polite letter, K Company got hit with a full-on raid. Jinwoo casually asks if her office has any spare rooms. When she nods, he tells everyone to pack their bags. They are moving next door. He reminds them everything is backed up in the cloud, so they are still in business. Since the staff has no clue who he is, he introduces himself as the temporary boss, until their director returns. Later, Hyunju hands him a secure phone, warning him his old one is compromised. The scary reality of government wiretapping finally sinks in, and he actually hesitates to go through with this. Hyunju is not having it. She calls him out, asking if he even has a backup plan. He does not, but she reminds him they cannot back down now. Taeku is counting on them. Sure, they cannot use dirty spy tricks, but in their world, money is the ultimate weapon. She immediately orders her lawyers to dig up every single piece of dirt connecting the president to Hyundai. Watching her work, Jinwoo realizes how terrifying his friend can be. Honestly, even the country's president would be sweating if he knew who he was actually messing with. But with Taeku locked up for now, director Park Sang-yop is finally set free. He meets the team and instantly notices something hilarious. Jinwoo still hasn't told Yoongi that he is the actual billionaire boss. Jinwoo admits he has been a little busy dealing with his best friend getting thrown in jail. Luckily, Taeku is holding strong and keeping his mouth shut while investigators dig into their finances. They are trying to manufacture a Samsung scandal, but they have zero proof. They just want Taeku locked away until the American elections wrap up. The director sees right through their little game, but points out their one fatal error. They busted the wrong guy. But Jinwoo knows this sacrifice bought them time, and he has no plans to waste a single second. Turning back to business, he notes the car company they are buying is a total wreck, but tells Karos to buy it anyway. Sean is positive that their tech will make this brand dominate the American market. With that sorted, Jinwoo decides to make his next move. The government wants to slow him down? Well, he is about to do the exact opposite by spending every single dollar he has. Their intel shows Donald Trump is shaking up the polls, but nothing is guaranteed yet. It all hinges on Pennsylvania and Ohio. So, Jinwoo casually drops an extra $5 billion of investment directly into those two swing states. Soon, Hillary's chief of staff calls the Korean president, absolutely screaming. He demands to know why they failed to block OTK's cash. Now Trump is getting a massive $5 billion boost. The furious chief wants to know where that cash came from. The Korean president stammers that it is impossible, since the OTK boss is currently locked behind bars. He even monitors the guy's meetings. He assumes the only person pulling the strings must be his sister, Hyunju. But hearing this, the chief realizes something does not add up. He asks to see a photo of the arrested guy. One look at Taeku and he knows this is not the OTK boss. The genius he met was totally different. He reveals the real CEO called himself Mr. Kang. And just like that, the president realizes he messed up big time. The real mastermind was hiding right under his nose. Meanwhile, at a fancy dinner, the prime minister's spoiled son, Wang Yuang, is showing off with his actress girlfriend. Across the table, his rival Junyong is chilling with his girlfriend, Siona. Wang Yuang laughs at the news, thinking it's pathetic that some 20-something nerd is causing a massive global crisis. Junyong admits it's wild, but points out that this nerd just shook the entire United States government with one play. Wang finds it hilarious, thinking Jinwoo was just. Junyong smugly declares that the game is over and Jinwoo's bank account is completely dry, but Siona is not buying it. The Taeku she knew back when she was dating Jinwoo was definitely not some international mastermind. She remembers how much Jinwoo has changed and knows there is a deeper secret here. Siona then drops a total bombshell, telling everyone that Jinwoo is the actual mastermind, not Taeku. Wang Yuang laughs it off, claiming she is giving the guy way too much credit. He claims his elite sources confirm Taeku is the boss, but Siona stands her ground. She knows her ex would never ride on his best friend's coattails. Speaking of Jinwoo, he tells the team he has a genius plan to free his buddy. When they ask how, his answer is simple. He is going to drop a massive press conference and finally reveal the truth to the entire world. On the way, Hyunju points out this will shock everyone who still thinks he is a nobody. She asks if he needs to warn anyone first. Jinwoo realizes Yuri would absolutely murder him if she saw this on television, and she is not the only one. He heads to his mother's house to formally introduce his team. His mom's spider sense is tingling. She immediately demands to know what trouble he has gotten into this time. He just suggests they talk inside. Soon, the announcement of OTK's upcoming press conference breaks the internet. Over at the spy agency, the director is losing his mind trying to figure out Jinwoo's move. An assistant reports they have been tailing Jinwoo for days, but he is not even trying to hide. The director finds this bizarre. Normally, targets lay low during a surveillance, but OTK is doing the exact opposite. He wants to shut them down, but then a sudden wave of panic hits him. If OTK has not broken any laws, they are about to be in deep trouble. Terrified of a massive public scandal, he decides to block the conference at all costs. He frantically calls the prosecutor general, begging him to shut it down. But the prosecutor shuts him down instead, reminding him that because of his agency's incompetence, they already arrested the wrong guy. They have a massive mess to clean up. One more slip-up and they are all going down for abuse of power. With zero backup, Uniwon orders his goons to stop the press conference at all costs, even if they have to cut the power to the entire building. Meanwhile, back with the crew, Hyunju reports that her side is ready. Jinwoo just tells her to stick with the master plan. They must hold out until the US elections wrap up. If they lock him up, they will communicate through lawyers. He also tells them to thank his friend for taking the fall, explaining why it had to happen. Ellie whispers that for someone taking such a massive risk, Jinwoo is ridiculously relaxed. She secretly finds it pretty charming. But before he can take the stage, his phone buzzes from a restricted number. A creepy voice warns him to call off the broadcast, even offering to cut a deal. But Jinwoo tells them negotiations died the second they touched his friend. He hangs up on them instantly. He literally snaps the phone in half. Talk about a power move. Our boy is going all in now, swearing he will not come back empty-handed. He confidently steps out to represent the OTK Corporation. He starts with the news everyone already knows. K Company was raided, and the supposed boss of OTK was grabbed at the airport. But then, he drops a truth bomb they never saw coming. Turns out, their finances were secretly tracked and their phones were tapped way before the raid. When a skeptical reporter demands proof, Jinwoo casually whips out photos from his own private investigators. They clearly show national security agents spying on them. He declares the entire government raid illegal, boldly claiming he has the names and agencies of every single dirty agent involved. Jinwoo paints this as pure political warfare, starting the exact moment they backed a US presidential candidate. And the absolute biggest proof of this state-sponsored joke? The guy they locked up is not even the actual chief executive of OTK. The cops just grabbed the first person they saw. Naturally, the media goes wild, demanding to know the real boss. Without breaking a sweat, Jinwoo looks straight at the cameras, declaring himself the true head of the company and welcoming their questions. The entire room instantly descends into absolute madness. Watching this live on television, Jinwoo's mother feels physically sick with worry. The warning he gave her earlier suddenly feels terrifyingly real. Meanwhile, the shockwave hits his college campus. A classmate recognizes him on screen, telling everyone their quiet peer is the boss of OTK. While the students are completely stunned, Yuri remains unbothered. Our boy had already told her everything. The person left truly reeling, however, is Siona. She knew he was playing a high-stakes game, but she wanted to hear it from him. Too bad he totally shut her out during their last chat. Elsewhere, media mogul Lee Sung-kin watches the live broadcast, convinced this kid is completely insane. His company actually got an invite, but they ignored it, thinking it was a total joke. An assistant suggests they should have paid attention, pointing out a suspicious packet about OTK that arrived in the mail. Sung-kin brushes it off, but after making a few calls, things get interesting. He realizes they are the only media outlet that received this exclusive scoop. OTK clearly chose him because of his public wars with the president. With that kind of leverage, he is interested. He decides to roll the dice. If it ruins the president, he is all over it. Speaking of the president, Park Geun-hye is also watching, absolutely fuming. He claims he never wanted to destroy OTK. He just wanted to keep them in line, hoping they could cooperate after the US elections. But now, everything has changed. He calls his communications chief, ordering a massive media counterattack. He tells him to rally every corrupt news outlet on their payroll. Later on, the prosecutor who lost custody of Taeku tries to go to work, but the building is completely swarmed by reporters. Ignoring the flashing cameras, he storms straight into the interrogation room. Absolutely furious, he demands to know who leaked the articles linking their secret company, PASS, to the president of Korea. Jinwoo, however, has a much better question. Did prosecutor Kim Kung-jun lock him up on direct orders from the president? Smug as ever, Kim tries to pull rank on him. He snaps that he is the one conducting the interrogation. But Jinwoo is completely unbothered. He casually mentions a legendary financial group from a few years back called Athena. Their market predictions were so perfect they made the government incredibly nervous. So, a corrupt prosecutor weaponized the state to crush Athena, spreading massive lies and fake accusations. In the end, Athena proved their innocence in court, but the government already got exactly what it wanted. Jinwoo smirks, pointing out that the dirty prosecutor was never punished. In fact, he was promoted all the way to prosecutor general. And now, Kim Kung-jun is about to make the exact same blunder. This absolutely infuriates the prosecutor. He demands to know if Jinwoo thinks his office is some kind of comedy act. Jinwoo fires back, telling him the state-controlled prosecutors are the ones treating citizens like a joke. But unlike Athena, he has more than enough money to protect himself. He offers a hypothetical. What if he sets up a private meeting, offering the president $1 trillion in pass? The only condition? Exposing all of Kim's dirty secrets to the world. The result? Kim becomes Korea's most hated criminal, and not even his family will be safe. Even without hard proof, national security would freeze his assets and lock up his family, just like they did to Taeku. Boom. The threat lands, and Kim struggles to catch his breath. He stammers that he is recording this whole exchange, meaning he can use it as blackmail. Jinwoo just flashes a trollish grin, saying he was totally joking. The president would never do that. After all, the president needs honest cops like him. But Kim is genuinely terrified now. He realizes Jinwoo's casual attitude means he has the raw power to destroy him. Meanwhile, over at the media office, Sung-kin's assistant reports their website was nuked again. Local servers just are not working. Knowing the government is trying to silence him, Sung-kin tells his team to pivot immediately. They ditch the website, moving to podcasts and social media feeds. Within hours, they launch a massive show detailing the corruption charges against the president and the ruling administration. The biggest allegation? The president secretly owns PASS, which is an immediate ticket to impeachment. Hearing the broadcast, Park Geun-hye totally panics. He realizes provoking OTK was a fatal mistake. On top of that, he is praying Donald Trump loses the US presidential election, or he is absolutely finished. Meanwhile, during a live debate, Hillary Clinton blasts OTK on stage. She accuses them of funneling illegal foreign cash to fund her opponent. But Trump immediately fires back, defending OTK as an American company. Korean ownership does not make them criminals. They keep trading heavy blows, but Trump is clearly winning over the crowd. Back in Korea, Yoon Sean gets some awful news. His team found absolutely zero dirt on OTK. The media is siding with OTK, and they cannot make wild claims without solid proof. The investigation is totally dead. Over at OTK, Jinwoo's legal counsel delivers a message. Their boss ordered them to push the master plan to the absolute limit. Hyunju adds that she got the massive Golden Gate Group to back them, securing a Trump victory. Under Jinwoo's brilliant strategy, a Trump victory will tank the traditional stock market while sending crypto straight to the moon. Sang Yap notes OTK is perfectly positioned. They already bought huge bags of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but he wonders if the intel is really legit. Hyunju confirms it is gold. The head of Golden Gate ordered it personally. Sang Yap is completely floored. Our boy has reached a level where legendary global elites are personally backing him up. The team has zero choice but to follow their insane leader. Meanwhile, Kim Kung-jun argues there is no reason to keep Jinwoo locked up. He desperately tries to convince his superior to redirect the investigation, but his boss completely shuts him down. Let's face it, justice is officially dead. The whole master plan is just to keep Jinwoo locked up until the American election wraps up. That's when Kim Mong-jun realizes his bosses care way more about politics than the actual law. It's all about filling their own pockets. Powerless to stop it, his only hope is a Hillary victory across the pond. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is losing his mind just sitting around, since he's so used to his hyperactive daily grind. He seriously wonders if he is turning into a total workaholic like Hyunju. When a smug investigator demands absolute honesty, Jinwoo just laughs it off because there is literally nothing left to discuss. He is not even accused of anything anymore. Jinwoo knows this guy is just desperately stalling for time while the American ballots are being counted. So instead of playing along, he decides to make a move. He casually demands a pen and paper to write a little note. Meanwhile, the big vote count kicks off in America. Hillary is already popping the champagne, totally convinced that she has this in the bag. She is already drafting her grand victory speech. Back in Korea, Jinwoo grabs his pen and asks for election updates. The agent acts all professional, claiming he is strictly forbidden from talking about it. Jinwoo easily reads his nervous twitch. He figures the industrial sector votes are still missing, meaning Hillary is only leading temporarily. He is not worried though, because his squad is about to flip the entire board. And he is absolutely right. The legendary OTK squad is hustling hard, even without their leader. They are tracking those live votes like absolute madmen. Hillary reports that Hillary basically locked down the West Coast. Still, Hyunju insists they stick to the master plan, even though she admits this is way more nerve-wracking than the whole Brexit nightmare. Jinwoo reflects on his brilliant scheme. Having met Donald Trump face-to-face, he knows exactly what makes the voters tick. His ultimate golden rule? If a prize is too far away, just drop it. Instead of wasting energy everywhere, they hyper-targeted Trump's campaign message to the most critical swing zones. He does not need to win the whole map, just the states that actually count. As the final numbers roll in, you and I can see the massive shift. Even Hillary completely loses her mind when Florida suddenly flips right into her rival's hands. Just like that, Donald Trump clinches the victory and becomes the next president of the United States. Back in Seoul, the Korean president hears the news and completely loses his sanity. The impossible just happened. He frantically calls the prosecutor, screaming that their trap failed, and orders Jinwoo's instant release. Meanwhile, Hillary's team is in absolute shambles, utterly defeated. Joel knows the truth. Trump did not pull this off alone. He had massive backing, and their entire campaign was ruined because they could not stop one single, legendary investor. Back in his cell, Jinwoo spots the guards acting incredibly polite and instantly realizes Donald Trump won. Seconds later, it is official. All charges are dropped, and he is a free man. On his way out, a guard warns him to dodge the front gate because it is crawling with reporters. Jinwoo totally gets it. Chatting with the press would just humiliate the entire prosecution. It would make them look like complete clowns. Since the big bosses made the mess, but the lower staff takes the heat, he decides to be a nice guy and sneak out. He sneaks out the back, especially since he has zero desire to be a media star. Outside, his best bud Taiku is waiting with a warm meal, knowing he must be absolutely starving. While he scarfs it down, Jinwoo asks about his mother. Taiku reassures him she is safe and sound. Suddenly, Ellie bursts out of the car in tears, completely overwhelmed, and throws herself into his arms. She sobbed about how terrified she was for his safety. Jinwoo gently reassures her that he is totally fine. Park Yap quickly interrupts the romantic moment, suggesting they keep moving before they attract a crowd. Once they are safely in the car, Jinwoo asks about their profits from the Trump bet. Park Sang-yap confirms they bagged nearly $3 billion, which is just absolutely absurd. He asks why they did not pull this off during Brexit. Jinwoo explains that the United Kingdom is strong enough to survive the hit, but Mexico's economy is about to get absolutely crushed. He does not want to make enemies of entire countries. To build a massive global empire, he needs allies, not a reputation for destroying local economies. Suddenly, Jinwoo spots a massive change outside. Ku proudly smirks. After that wild press conference, he decided it was time to mark their territory, so he slapped a giant OTK logo right on top of their headquarters. Arriving at the office, Jinwoo is greeted by Hyunju. He thanks her for holding down the fort. She reveals that Donald Trump's secretary has been calling, begging Jinwoo to call back immediately. Jinwoo smiles, explaining he already handled it on the road. Turns out Trump is incredibly thankful for the help. With that settled, he asks Hyunju what their next major target is. She warns him that their real enemy is right here in Korea. Taeku adds that President Park Geun-hye is facing massive impeachment, and Hyunju thinks they should fund his absolute downfall. After all the misery Park Geun-hye caused her brother and Jinwoo, destroying his career is sweet justice. Knowing he is not returning to college anytime soon, Jinwoo moves back into the office. He plans to hire a massive new squad. Following the political chaos, Golden Gate builds an elite legal team to completely shield their wealthy clients from any future government drama. Meanwhile, Park Geun-hye's approval ratings have absolutely tanked. In a desperate bid to save his own skin, he holds a pathetic press conference to apologize, but it fails spectacularly. He refuses to admit he did anything wrong, claiming it was all for national security. Nobody is buying that garbage. Taeku is completely baffled that this clown is still the president. Jinwoo points out that the president's political base is still fiercely loyal, so he will not just go quietly. However, the cornered leader absolutely needs some scapegoats to blame. Boom! The prosecutor general, the OTK prosecutor, and the spy chief are all immediately fired. So, while the president clings to power, his war against our favorite squad is officially dead. That giant logo glowing on the building is the ultimate victory trophy. No more hiding in the shadows. Jinwoo finally gets his own luxury office, ready to scale things up. He wants this empire to be highly professional. During a big meeting, he announces that hiring a top-tier human resources director is priority number 1 to manage their rapidly growing army. The boys start scanning resumes, and one candidate immediately grabs Taeku's attention. A Korean-American named Michael Lee, with a godly track record. Even Henry recognizes him, and is totally on board. Jinwoo knows this is the one and immediately plans to contact him. Henry laughs, completely confident he will accept, because working with the legendary Jinwoo is a dream job. Suddenly, Jinwoo's phone rings. It is his mother. She apologizes for interrupting his busy day, but drops a major bomb. Their entire house is packed to the brim with guests. Every single distant relative has suddenly crawled out of the woodwork to see him. Jinwoo can already feel the massive headache coming. Later, he reluctantly drives over with Taeku in tow. Taeku notices his tense face and asks if he is nervous. Jinwoo honestly admits he completely forgot these relatives even existed, remembering how they utterly ignored his mother in her darkest hour. When his father passed, not one of them offered a single penny. He claims he has no grudge, since lending money is tough, but their greedy true colors are glowing brightly now. Now that he is a wealthy television star, they are suddenly his best friends. He asks if Taeku deals with this family drama, but Taeku laughs, saying his relatives are already rich. Arriving at the mansion, Jinwoo asks his security team why they even let these freeloaders in. Turns out, his sweet mother made the call, unable to lock out her own flesh and blood. Jinwoo sighs and walks in. Instantly, the fake smiles swarm him. His uncle immediately drools over his luxury ride, and you and I know the gold digging is about to begin. Look who decided to crawl out of the woodwork. You and I both know the last time Jinwoo saw these vultures was at his dad's funeral. Yet, they claim they were just oh so worried after seeing his press conference. Some of these freeloaders even brag about skipping school and work just to see him, acting all overjoyed that he is free. Then, a cousin takes the chance to introduce her random husband. Jinwoo plays along and congratulates them, even though he knows they have been married for ages and never invited him or his mom. He decides to cut straight to the point, demanding what they actually want. They play innocent, claiming they just wanted to see him. Jinwoo basically says, "Okay, you saw me, now get out. I have to get back to the office anyway." But a shameless uncle chimed in, saying they should catch up, before boldly asking exactly how much cash Jinwoo has. Our main character calmly says he has enough to give his mother a comfortable life. Boom. That is the exact trap they were waiting for. The greedy relatives finally spill the beans. They want massive loans or easy jobs at his incredibly successful company. Jinwoo remembers how these fake gold diggers ignored him back then, completely ghosting his mother when they were dead broke. He knows if he does not give them a hard no right now, they will leech off him forever. But kicking them out feels a bit too harsh, since they are technically his late father's family. Before he can even make up his mind, his mother takes absolute charge. She tells them she sees right through their fake smiles and calls them completely shameless for begging for cash in her own home. Mama Bear has officially had enough. She commands every single one of these freeloaders to pack up, get out, and never call again. She reminds them that none of their families were ever born rich. Yet, her husband always bailed out his ungrateful relatives no matter how hard his own business was struggling. He paid for his brother's college tuition and gave plenty of cash to his sister. Even his own hospital bills and funeral were covered by the small savings he left behind. Yet, when he passed away, did any of them help? Not a single cent went to her or her boy. So, coming here now to beg for money is purely pathetic. She declares that they are officially strangers from this moment on. But the shameless relatives ignore her and beg Jinwoo for mercy, whimpering that his father would never be this cruel. His mother coldly agrees, but reminds them her husband is dead and they are partly to blame for his stress. None of them have any right to ask for a single thing. She immediately orders the security team to throw them out. As the guards close in, the family throws a tantrum. The uncle tries one last desperate play, shoving a business card forward while talking about some amazing investment. But Jinwoo snaps, telling him their only real connection is already in a grave. Honestly, he was hoping for a sincere apology today, but now he realizes these snakes will never change. He completely backs his mother. It is best if they never meet again. Jinwoo knows his dad was too kind, but his loyalty was always to his wife and son first. He commands them to leave his house and never show their faces again. The relatives are stunned, begging for another chance, but our main character is solid gold and cold. He warns them that if anyone calls his mother again, his massive legal team will ruin them. This is the absolute end. Once the trash is cleared out, Jinwoo's mom feels a bit sad about the drama. He gently comforts her, saying she did the right thing. She smiles, advising Jinwoo to protect himself, cherish those who love him, and never waste energy bickering with clueless people. Since they missed lunch during all that chaotic drama, she heads to the kitchen to cook. Later, Jinwoo meets up with his best buddy to fill him in on the crazy family reunion. Taegu laughs, saying he heard the screaming, and wisely stayed outside. Honestly, you and I wouldn't miss his mom's cooking either. Meanwhile, over at Samsung, the vice president is digging deep into Jinwoo's past. He discovers they went to the same college, and even crazier, Jinwoo was the secret mastermind behind the Samsung crisis. The vice president knows our main character forced them to cancel the L6 phone. Nobody makes a high-stakes gamble like that without inside info. Sure, he knows OTK is a team effort, and Jinwoo has got some elite geniuses on his side, but instead of getting mad, the Samsung heir is incredibly impressed. He actually wants to be friends. Back at OTK, Jinwoo is drowning in a massive wave of business meeting requests. Taegu teases his buddy about becoming a global superstar, asking who is first on the schedule. Jinwoo reveals it is the candidate Henry vouched for. Right on cue, Michael Lee walks in for an interview. He jokingly introduces Jinwoo as Donald Trump's biggest secret supporter. Jinwoo plays it perfectly cool, saying the American voters chose the president, not him. Michael laughs, agreeing with that, but points out that without OTK, history would be completely different. Pivoting quickly, he says he is here for business, not politics. He explains he has researched OTK's structure inside and out, and his wife is Korean, making this the perfect dream job. Then he drops some pure wisdom. His philosophy? A company's very first customers are actually its own staff. You can only scale up when your people are truly happy. He drops his proposal, including an 8-hour workday, 5 days a week, plus a gourmet buffet cafeteria. He wants break rooms, lounge zones, and even a free daycare center for working parents. Michael insists that work should never require painful personal sacrifices. When trust is solid between staff and company, everyone wins. Hearing this, Jinwoo realizes these modern strategies are scientifically proven to boost profits. There is literally no reason to say no. He loves the plan and hires him on the spot. Michael happily accepts, ready to build an empire. Guided by Hyunju, Michael starts poaching top talent from a premium list sent by Golden Gate. Since OTK is finally a legit corporation instead of a ghost front, Jinwoo begins transferring his best workers over from K Company. During their next big board meeting, Park Sang-yeop jokes that his office is going to be a ghost town. But then, Jinwoo gets serious about paying out dividends. He proposes starting with 50 billion won, split by ownership percentage. He also insists they must pay every single penny of their taxes, no matter how painful. He is not leaving any loopholes for his rivals to exploit. Plus, he promises the K Company crew will get a massive bonus, including Sang-yeop himself. Sang-yeop is ecstatic, but warns him that the tax rate will be absolutely brutal. Jinwoo does not care. He officially decrees that K Company staff will receive double their current salaries as a bonus. Later, at headquarters, the core team meets up, but Ellie and Hyunju look totally drained. Ellie groans that they have been completely overwhelmed interviewing candidates. Taegu mentions noticing fresh faces in the lobby, asking if hiring started early. Hyunju explains those are actually staff for the brand new Golden Gate Korean branch. Since their office is not ready yet, she let them crash at OTK. She then reveals Golden Gate's massive plan. They want to create a consortium to buy out a famous local security firm. That target is X-Cop. Jinwoo immediately recognizes the name because it is the exact security brand they currently use. Hyunju nods, explaining that X-Cop's parent company, the Type Group, is desperate for cash. After a massive accounting fraud scandal, they almost went bankrupt and are selling assets. The price tag is a whopping 3 trillion won, but Hyunju insists this business is way too valuable to pass up. However, they are not the only sharks in the water. Industry giants are circling, including Hyundai. The moment Jinwoo hears that name, a brilliant plan instantly flashes in his mind. Hyunju adds that while Golden Gate is highly aggressive, winning this auction won't be easy against these deep pockets. Taegu wonders aloud why Hyundai is even participating since they already own a security firm. His sister laughs, saying it is pure corporate spite. You and I know that the second Samsung gets interested, Hyundai is legally obligated to ruin their day. Ellie thinks it is totally normal for Korea's top two conglomerates to constantly flex on each other. But Taek wonders why Hyundai does not just drop massive cash, outbid everyone, and end the game right now. Jinwoo explains that one reckless purchase can ruin an entire conglomerate, so even the giants must tread carefully. Plus, he announces OTK needs a security firm, meaning they are jumping into the bidding too. They are officially targeting X-Cop. Hyunju asks if this move is purely professional or if he is making it personal. Jinwoo admits it is always personal. Otherwise, he would never take these crazy risks. Besides, jumping into this chaotic fight sounds like a blast. Later on, Taek points out that while X-Cop is only worth 500 billion, the current asking price is an insane 3 trillion won. Jinwoo explains, the broker is obviously hyping up the price to snatch a massive commission. Taek gets the picture, it is all a high-stakes game of bluffing and posturing where profit is king. It is all about the money. Jinwoo says that to even secure a seat at this table, they must calculate a brilliant strategy to gain some real negotiating leverage. Naturally, his friend asks a simple question, why not just throw more money at them than the broker wants? Jinwoo explains that would be incredibly dumb. It would ruin his reputation, making OTK look like an easy target that overpays for everything, like a total sucker. Taek points out his sister and Henry are already working out the details with Golden Gate anyway, so why not just let them handle it? But our main character has other ideas. He prefers to personally oversee everything. After all, he is the one with the cheat code to see the future. He adds that winning requires more than just buying X-Cop. They must utterly crush their rivals. They must completely block them out. Speaking of rivals, Jinwoo brings up the legendary finance giant RCK Brothers. Elsewhere, Ryu Chuliun, the president of RCK, hears that OTK is entering. OTK is joining the massive bidding war. His vice president, Shin Yongdu, laughs it off, assuming Hyundai will easily take X-Cop. But Ryu Chuliun knows better, noting OTK has a flawless track record. Their investment record is literally perfect. He tells his vice president to invite them over for coffee. Their office is right across the street, and he is dying to meet them. Meanwhile, Michael is complaining. He says OTK's corporate structure is a total disaster. They are running things like complete rookies and need at least 50 new employees to look professional. Hearing this, Jinwoo just nods. He tells Michael to handle it and consult with Park Sanjiop on future moves. After the meeting, our boy heads out for a date, praying he does not get recognized outside. But Yuri spots him instantly. She asks why on earth he is wearing sunglasses. He admits it is a terrible attempt at a disguise because that press conference made him way too famous. Quickly changing the subject, he smiles. He remembers promising to treat her to their next dinner, so he tells her to pick anywhere she wants. They end up at an ultra-fancy restaurant. Yuri mentions their university went absolutely wild over him. Everyone is gossiping about him, and she asks if he is ever going back to class. Jinwoo tells her that with all this massive chaos, he has zero intention of returning. Yuri sighs. They only got to study together for a single semester, but she hopes to join OTK after graduation. Jinwoo asks if she is actually serious. She laughs, saying of course she is. They are the hottest finance firm right now, and everyone on campus knows it. She knows her own worth and refuses to settle for less. Honestly, any top-tier professional would die to work there. Then, Yuri drops a bomb. Her father's name is Shin Byung-do, and she is shocked Jinwoo did not connect the dots. Not only that, but her dad is actually the vice president of RCK. Talk about a plot twist. Jinwoo is completely stunned to learn her father is a top executive at their brand new rival company. Yuri adds that her dad actually highly respects Jinwoo. He even mentioned wanting to bid on the X-Cop auction. Jinwoo confirms they are in the race too, but plays dumb about their chances of winning. Suddenly, he gets another crazy vision from his eagle. Just like that, he knows the X-Cop auction is absolutely his. Yuri immediately senses the shift and asks why his mood suddenly flipped. He tries to act cool and brush it off. He says it is nothing, but she is definitely not buying it. She reminds him of their near accident and demands to know what actually distracted him. Cornered, Jinwoo deploys the ultimate weapon, a smooth compliment. He tells her he simply got distracted by how stunning she looks tonight. Yuri rolls her eyes, assuming it is just the wine talking, but Jinwoo insists he is perfectly sober. Either way, he already called a ride to take them both back. Standing outside her apartment, Yuri mentions 5 massive conglomerates are bidding, but she is secretly cheering for him to win. Before saying goodnight, she slips his glasses off, telling him not to hide such a handsome face. Smooth. Jinwoo smiles, thinking this date was exactly the breath of fresh air he needed. On the ride back, he reflects on his vision. It came at the perfect time, revealing the exact final bidding price. Without that cheat sheet, this whole buyout would have been a disaster. He is starting to see a pattern. These visions always seem to trigger when he is with Yuri. He definitely owes her one. Back at the office, Jinwoo breaks the news to Tech. Take crunches the numbers and groans. To make that investment back, they would need 17 years of straight profits. Jinwoo predicts Samsung will drop out, but Hyundai will charge forward. If OTK wants to win, they must pay a massive price. Time for an emergency meeting. They rush over to Golden Gate, where Ellie explains the team is pulling an all-nighter. Since the first bid is in just 2 days, Ellie suddenly sniffs the air, asking if Jinwoo was out drinking without her. He quickly claims it was a business meeting, promising to invite her next time. Suddenly, Hyunju walks in, wondering what they are doing in her office so late. Jinwoo casually drops his plan, and Hyunju is absolutely floored. He says they will need around $3 billion to win. Her immediate question is whether XCOP is even worth that kind of money. With a bid that insane, they would start deep in the red. Jinwoo realizes she is absolutely right. Hyundai is not just trying to win, they are driving up the price to scare off rivals. He is incredibly impressed. Hyunju figured that out in just 10 minutes of looking at the data. Risk or not, Jinwoo is determined to see this through. 3 days later, Seo Sangwon, the boss of Hyundai, tells his team their final bid is $2,088 million. His vice president, Han Chan, suggests they should wait to see other offers first, just to play it safe. But Seo Sangwon is cocky, believing nobody can possibly match their massive bid. The vice president warns him that OTK and Golden Gate are still in the game. But Sangwon laughs, dismissing OTK as a basic startup run by kids. To him, the only real threat is RCK. His vice president agrees, but he has a terrible feeling about OTK. He is convinced they will be a major problem. He clears the room to speak with Sangwon in absolute confidence. Han Chan insists they absolutely cannot lose this auction. He wants to raise their offer even higher, taking full responsibility to push their final bid to $2,930 million. Meanwhile, Jinwoo already knows Hyundai's exact number. He tells Take that OTK's bid will be $2,930,100,000. Take just grins. This is getting fun. He cannot wait to see how this plays out. The next day, the big bidding day finally arrives. But first, they introduce the new hires at OTK. Jinwoo is shocked to spot a familiar face. It is his former college classmate, Ju Hunjong. She is thrilled he actually remembers her and incredibly excited to work together. The hiring manager is not surprised, noting many graduates applied. Jinwoo should expect to see even more old friends around. He never imagined becoming the boss of his former classmates, but he is ready to get to work. Later, they meet with Ellie and Henry. Ellie assumes Jinwoo must have stayed up all night sweating over their final bid. He keeps quiet, but we all know he was actually just out on a date. We find our main character up late gaming. Thanks to his future sight, choosing a number is zero effort. Henry then demands they look sharp. Cue Hyunju walking in looking like an absolute boss, asking if they are ready. The guys are totally stunned by her gorgeous business suit. They head to More Starly to bid on X-Cop. Jinwoo reveals they went right up to her suggested limit, though she still feels incredibly nervous. While she handles the paperwork, Taiku gets overwhelmed by the massive crowd inside. Jinwoo notes there are some incredibly heavy hitters in this very room, but Ellie points out that Jinwoo is actually the main attraction here. He looks around, realizing everyone is staring straight at him, which is super awkward. It gets even worse when several high-profile CEOs rush over just to shake his hand, leaving our poor main character completely overwhelmed by the attention. Interestingly, only our CK brokers ignores him, the one group he actually wanted to meet. Then, the entire room suddenly falls completely silent. The big bosses from Hyundai have arrived. Even crazier, their vice president, Han Chun-young, walks straight up to Jinwoo, asking to chat somewhere private. Once they are alone, Han Chun-young admits he is surprised Jinwoo showed up instead of hiding. He then brings up the messy history between their two companies. Cutting straight to the chase, he demands to know why Jinwoo wants ex-cop. Jinwoo keeps it incredibly simple. He wants a security firm, period. Han Chanyoung laughs it off but warns him that Hyundai will not lose. Jinwoo knows he is dealing with a spoiled, ultra-rich corporate heir. Worse, this guy knows exactly how Hyundai ruined Jinwoo's father, making his friendly smile look completely fake. But then, Taeku cuts in to rescue him. Taeku announces the bidding is starting and asks who this clown is. Han Chanyoung instantly recognizes Taeku as Jinwoo's loyal right-hand man, proving he did homework. Taeku's blood is boiling near this guy, but he keeps his cool. In fact, he decides to throw a little shade. He thanks Han Chanyoung for selling them their previous asset at such a massive discount, even offering to buy him a cheap drink as thanks. Jinwoo completely loses it and bursts out laughing. Annoyed, Han Chanyoung asks if this is a war declaration. Jinwoo just grins, knowing he has already won. He tells the vice president he will understand once the final results are read. With that, our two heroes walk off, leaving their rival absolutely fuming. To Han Chanyoung, they are just lucky kids who need a painful lesson. Now, normally, buying a company takes months, but this auction was wrapped up fast. The sellers went with a sealed bid auction, highest offer wins. The brokerage chief, Song Mongan, opens each envelope on camera to keep things completely official. As he reads out the numbers, some teams celebrate, while others instantly realize they are completely out of the race. The tension in the room is crazy. Hyunju gets super nervous, but Jinwoo calmly promises her that their bid is much larger. Meanwhile, Hyundai is smiling, completely confident that they have won. Han Chanyoung laughs at OTK, calling them foolish amateurs. He thinks they are just acting out of petty revenge and do not belong here. Since Hyunju does not know Jinwoo's final number, she braces for the worst. But Jinwoo looks way too relaxed for a guy about to lose. Even her brother is grinning like he has a massive secret. Suddenly, the auctioneer announces the final joint bid from OTK and Golden Gate. He looks at the paper and freezes before reading it out. $2,930,100,000. It's just barely on top. Hyunju demands to know how he pulled this off, but he tells her to wait. A furious Han Chanyoung storms the stage to see the paper. The exact number leaves him totally speechless. Jinwoo just sits back and enjoys the drama. He purposefully beat their bid by exactly $100,000. It was pure disrespect. Afterward, some competitors congratulate OTK on the massive win, but Jinwoo's team demands to know how he got that number. He explains he added $10 million to her bid, and his friend tacked on another $100,000. When asked why, his buddy says it was for fun. And honestly, seeing Hyundai's angry faces made it totally worth it. Hyunju worries they will retaliate, but she knows they have much bigger problems to handle. She is totally right. Han Chanyoung is currently screaming at the president, demanding an audit to find out who leaked their top-secret bidding price. Meanwhile, our crew heads back to their office, completely ignoring the corporate chaos. Their employees throw them a massive surprise party to celebrate the win. Elsewhere, Shin Byung-do gets the news. OTK won, and his team leader instantly suspects someone inside Hyundai sold them the exact number. He explains that usually, you would bid $5 billion just to avoid suspicion, but OTK bid the absolute bare minimum to mock them. Shin Byung-do wonders if it was just a lucky guess, but his partner rejects that. OTK has Hyunju, who is way too smart for luck. Back at headquarters, Park Sang-gyop asks the million-dollar question. How did Jinwoo know the exact offer? Jinwoo just smiles and shrugs it off as luck. He insists he has zero contacts inside Hyundai. Sang-gyop laughs, believing his boss, but notes that Hyundai will never buy the whole lucky coincidence story. Anyway, Sang-gyop found a perfect house for Jinwoo. It belongs to the former boss of Hunan Shipping, a company that went into absolute chaos. After the chief died, his widow, Chae Young-yoon, took over and completely ruined it. This is bad for Hyundai, since Hunan ships all their cars. To make things worse, the widow fled the country with her kids to escape a massive corruption probe. Putting her luxury house up for sale, she promised to donate the proceeds to save face. But there is a major catch. She listed the property way above its actual market value. She did this because a massive chunk of the sale has to go to a major shareholder. Jinwoo is now completely determined to buy it. Later, Chae Young-yoon gets word that someone actually made an offer. She is stunned because her lawyer promised her no one would pay that price. Her lawyer, Park Dong-soo, explains the buyer is none other than Kong Jinwoo, the famous billionaire. She recognizes the name and instantly refuses to sell, but Dong-soo warns her that Jinwoo already went public, so backing out looks terrible. Their only option now is to raise the price even higher. She insists the sale was always a fake show, just to throw off the Hyunjin Shipping shareholders. But her lawyer warns her that Jinwoo is way too famous, and his name will drag the media right to their doorstep. All they can do now is stall for time. Plus, this lawyer, Park Dong-gu, heard that Jinwoo is actually a terrible negotiator who lets his staff do all the heavy lifting. Time to play some games. He plans to drag this out and squeeze him for every penny. But when Jinwoo gets the new price tag of 22 billion won, does he panic? Nope. He does not even blink and buys it anyway. While that goes down, the buyout of the security firm X-Cop wraps up with zero drama from rivals. Right after, Jinwoo gets the news that Cha Young-gon's lawyer has finally arrived for their showdown. The lawyer, Park Dong-soo, tries to act smooth, but Jinwoo is not having it. He tells him he hates surprise visits and has no time to waste, so he better start talking fast. The lawyer asks him to cancel the bid on the mansion, trying to play the emotional card. He brings up how Jinwoo bought back his old family home, claiming his client feels the exact same way. But Jinwoo is not stupid. If Chae Young-gun cared so much, she should not have bragged on TV about donating all her wealth. Caught red-handed, the lawyer has to quickly change his strategy. He offers a deal instead, showing info on another house with a sweet 20% discount if Jinwoo backs off. But our main character says no. He wants this exact location, period. More than that, he knows her dirty little secret. Jinwoo drops some truth bombs. Before trading stopped, those shipping shares were worth 40,000 won each, and she pocketed a massive chunk of it. He compares her greed to the actual victims, the everyday shareholders who spent their hard-earned savings hoping for a financial miracle, while she just looked out for herself. For a billionaire like her, losing 2 billion won is pocket change. Yet, she let those regular people take the hit, choosing to watch her own husband's empire burn over a tiny loss. Jinwoo looks the lawyer dead in the eye and says a future prisoner does not need a mansion anyway. Tell her to start packing. Mic drop. After the lawyer leaves, Jinwoo asks his team for some good news. And boy, is it juicy. Hyundai just fired their president and his whole team, blaming them entirely for the leak. Jinwoo remembers seeing that exact president with the competition at the auction and knows the guy is a genius. Connecting the dots, he decides he wants to hire him and orders a meeting. Soon, the fired president, Seo Sang-won, sits down for dinner with Jinwoo, but he is not here to be friends. He wants to know if someone really leaked their bidding numbers from the inside. Sang-won explains that only 5 people in the entire world knew that secret amount. He cannot believe anyone betrayed him, because even after getting fired, he still trusts his loyal team. But one thing still bugs him. Jinwoo was way too relaxed at the auction, almost like he already knew what everyone was bidding. Then, the former president drops a massive piece of the puzzle. It turns out, right before bidding, their vice president suddenly demanded they add another $50 million. They only finalized this secret, higher number on the actual morning of the auction. This means any leak would have only revealed the old, lower price. Jinwoo realizes his team's future prediction was actually 100% correct, and his cheat code worked perfectly. While he has zero regrets about using his cheat powers, he does feel a bit guilty that this guy took the fall. So, he cooks up a fake story about just getting lucky with math. Taegyu acts sorry about the mess, then drops the real reason they are having this dinner. They want to hire him at OTK Company, but the former president instantly rejects the offer. He says joining them right after getting fired makes him look like a dirty traitor who sold company secrets for a paycheck. Jinwoo can see this guy actually has real honor and pride. Even after being kicked out, he is still loyal. But Jinwoo points out the brutal truth. With a leaked info scandal on his resume, no other big company is ever going to hire him. His only escape is to join them, the only people who know he did nothing wrong. The guy warns Jinwoo that hiring a disgraced president will destroy his reputation, but Jinwoo just laughs. Ever since the world found out he is the big boss of OTK, he has been swimming in hate. What is one more angry comment? He promises to clear his name if he joins. Plus, he has a secret project lined up that will make their last multi-million-dollar deal look like pocket change. While the man thinks, Jinwoo finally secures his ultimate prize. He officially buys the greedy lady's mansion. Our boy is hyped to finally have his own place, especially with a 5-minute commute. He invites the squad over, and Taegyu loses his mind. Meanwhile, Hyunju is loving the massive kitchen, planning all the meals she can make. When asked if he is actually satisfied, Jinwoo admits the previous owner did have pretty decent taste in decor. Hyunju laughs that the poor lady lost her business, her house, and did not even get to keep a single penny. Talk about a massive loss. But hey, time to celebrate. With the new year coming up, they plan an epic joint celebration for OTK, Golden Gate, and K Company. They even put the newly promoted team leader, Gi Hong, in charge of everything. Jinwoo looks back at how insanely his life transformed in just 1 year. It has been total chaos, and despite being proven innocent, angry protesters still stand outside his office demanding his head. But during one of these wild protests, Jinwoo spots a familiar face in the crowd. He slams on the brakes and runs over to his uncle, asking why he is freezing out here. His uncle explains that since the young billionaire is impossible to reach, camping outside his office was his only hope. Jinwoo rushes him inside, where the older man apologizes for the desperate move. Jinwoo remembers their last meeting was at his dad's funeral, where this uncle was the only relative who actually showed up. Now, the older man shares his heartbreaking story of losing his job. He protested the terrible working conditions at a place called Wukong Enterprises. Things were so bad that a worker actually died, and he got injured himself with zero help, leaving him with nowhere else to turn. Jinwoo clarifies that while he calls him uncle, they are not actually related by blood. Yet, this man feels more like family than any of his real, greedy relatives ever did. They had drifted apart over time, but now that Jinwoo knows the truth, he promises to fix this. See, back when he was a kid, two loyal men worked closely under his late father. They were his father's best friends, basically family. But after the company went under and his father passed away, both of them ended up working at Wukong Enterprises, which was a total nightmare. The evil company worked everyone to the bone with zero overtime pay. When the workers started a peaceful union protest, the company did the unthinkable, sending a massive truck to plow straight through them. People were severely injured, and some even died. The corporate monsters called it a simple accident, getting away with murder. The remaining workers got the message loud and clear: shut up or else. His father's old friend, Park Jong-soo, was one of the victims. He tried suing them, but after losing everything, he fell into deep despair and ended his own life. Hearing this, Taegyu is furious. He asks the obvious question: why do the cops and judges always protect these greedy corporations? Jinwoo explains the sad truth. These mega companies basically run the country and hold all the power. They are stronger than any politician, but Jinwoo promised to help, and since he now owns the top security firm X-Cop, he calls in their elite manager to lay out the situation. It turns out Wukong hired a shady law firm to make their problems disappear. On paper, they are legal experts, but in reality, they are just glorified gangsters who crush unions for breakfast. But Legion promises him that his security team has this fully covered. You and I know they are elite former special forces and foreign mercenaries, so a few street punks do not stand a chance. Meanwhile, Jinwoo makes it clear that his moves are not purely out of the goodness of his heart, but he definitely wants that hero image. Legion gets the memo and promises to deliver. Elsewhere, Hong Wukong, the greedy president of Wukong Enterprises, is throwing a massive tantrum. He paid a shady firm to crush the union, yet they are still protesting outside his house. Fake lawyer Lee Seop guarantees the job will be done before sunset. Right outside, as the workers protest, the gang's vice leader, Im Dusk, orders his thugs to clear the street, offering a sweet cash bonus for every single person they crush. He tells his men to show absolutely no mercy. Since the cops looked the other way last time, they have nothing to fear. Just like that, the thugs unleash total chaos, beating people and tearing down their protest camp. The police are called, but the second the patrol car spots the gang, they pull a quick U-turn and drive away. Im Dusk smirks, bragging that this is exactly what he was talking about and tells them to keep going. But then, a new challenger steps up. It is Taegyu, and he reveals he just recorded the entire beatdown on video, warning them that actions have consequences, and they are about to get a taste of their own medicine. Shady lawyer Lee Seop realizes they are caught red-handed and warns the thugs to back off before they get wrecked. Im Dusk is not scared at all. He brags about being backed by a massive corporate giant, asking if they have heard of Hyundai. Jinwoo recalls those cowardly cops running away and figures the guy. Still, Jinwoo does not give a single care. He is not intimidated by massive companies. Enraged, the thug charges at him, but Lee Chil-jin steps in and shuts him down immediately, in his place. The other thugs try to jump in, but Lee Chil-jin has plenty of backup ready. He orders his security squad to protect the workers, reminding everyone that as a licensed firm, they play strictly by the rules. Watching the clash, Taegyu asks if they are getting a bit soft. Lee Chil-jin explains that in the old days, this would be over in a second, but times change. Now they have to play it smart instead of just throwing punches. Plus, all his guys are wearing body cameras. The union workers are incredibly grateful, but they worry this will make things much worse for them later. Lee Chil-jin reassures them that this is the end of the line because they are going to crush this threat for good. Once the thugs are tied up, the police finally arrive in full force. An officer walks up, asking what the former detective is doing here. Lee Chil-jin plays dumb, claiming he was just taking a walk when he saw innocent people getting jumped. He notes that the thugs were caught red-handed, and it is all recorded on video. Jinwoo steps in, pointing out that one of these guys almost murdered someone with a heavy fire extinguisher and walked away free. He explains that his company, Kairos, used advanced facial recognition on security footage to pinpoint his identity. Jinwoo points right at the trembling criminal, accusing him of assault. Terrified, the thug tries to bolt, but he does not get far. Jinwoo turns to the useless cop, asking if he plans to make an arrest. The officer hesitates, babbling about protocol and evidence, so Jinwoo simply points to a nearby rooftop, where a crowd of journalists is filming everything. This entire circus is about to go live on the nightly news. The cop changes his tune instantly, commanding his officers to cuff every single suspect. The thugs try to resist, but the threat of public humiliation makes the police work remarkably fast. As he is dragged off, the thug screams that this is not over. The workers sigh, knowing they will be back, and next time will be worse. Jinwoo nods, realizing they need a permanent fix. He introduces himself as the CEO of OTK Company and offers the workers free medical care and top-tier legal backing, promising these thugs are going down because he is putting his best attorneys on the job to lock them up. And he makes it crystal clear, 0 plea deals allowed. They are going straight to prison. Realizing he is completely cornered, the thug tries to beg, whining that he has a family depending on him. Jinwoo coldly reminds him that his uncle has a family too, a detail the thug forgot while swinging that deadly weapon. Cornered, the thug breaks, crying that he was just following orders and that the corrupt police promised to protect them if they crushed the union. Hearing this, Dusk screams at him to shut his mouth. He then glares at Jinwoo, threatening to tell the press that Jinwoo hired mercenaries to attack regular citizens. Jinwoo welcomes it, warning Dusk and Hyundai's legal squad to brace for impact. He is more than happy to drop his own footage to the news, showing a thug confessing that the country's largest conglomerate is cozy with organized crime. Jinwoo points out that Hyundai might survive a massive scandal, but he is not so sure about a snitching gangster. Left with 0 cards, Dusk starts begging for mercy, dropping his tough guy act. His men copy him, whining that they were just following orders. Jinwoo finds it pathetic. Moments ago, they were ready to murder, and now they are like stray dogs begging for food. Still, he is glad he saved innocent workers from getting hurt, just like his uncle was. But before they head home, Jinwoo and his crew decide to pay a visit to the root of the problem. Jinwoo wants to look the mastermind in the eye. Meanwhile, with his grand scheme in ruins, Hong Wukong panics, wondering what is next. The answer arrives immediately when a staff member bursts in, shouting that the CEO of OTK and the leader of XCOP are downstairs demanding to see him. Even worse, the prosecutor's office just called about a major criminal complaint filed against Wukong Enterprises. Before he can even blink, the police storm in to arrest his chief administrator, and walking right behind them is Jinwoo, offering a friendly greeting and demanding a chat. Later, a furious Hong Wukong demands to know why Jinwoo is sticking his nose in his business. Jinwoo calmly explains that his father taught him to treat workers like family. If he had done that, none of this would have happened. The old man scoffs, calling his workers vermin who only complain instead of delivering results. He snarls that an arrogant kid like Jinwoo knows absolutely nothing about hard labor, boasting that he built his way up from the gutter without complaining. Jinwoo cuts through the self-righteous garbage, reminding him that several workers were severely crippled and even killed on his watch. That is not something to normalize. It is completely natural for people to demand safer working conditions. But Hong Wukong stubbornly snaps that union workers are not always right, and a boss should not bow to every demand. Jinwoo tells him to save his pathetic excuses for the judge, because tomorrow, the name Hong Wukong is going to be plastered across every single front page. Yet, Jinwoo notices the old tycoon is acting remarkably smug, clearly hiding an ace in his sleeve. Hong Wukong grins as his assistant takes a phone call, boasting that his firm is a vital partner to Hyundai, and they would never abandon him. Jinwoo tells him not to be so sure. Hong Wukong sneers, accusing him of trying to aid a confession. He shuts his mouth, refusing to say another word, but Jinwoo tells him he does not need to. He already won. He simply points at the assistant's pale face, guessing from his reaction that backup is not coming. And he is dead on. The assistant whispers that Hyundai hung them out to dry, refusing to help. With that, Jinwoo declares his work is officially finished and turns to leave. A desperate Hong Wukong tries to bargain, saying they can still negotiate a price. But as you and I know, Jinwoo has 0 interest in his dirty cash, vowing to throw his entire fortune into making sure justice is served. Hong Wukong warns him that starting this kind of corporate war will hurt him in the future. But Jinwoo is not losing any sleep. He has not broken any laws. He tells the old man that if he is actually innocent, he has nothing to fear. Hong Wukong is shaking, but he still tries to bluff. You would think being backed by a giant like Hyundai would save him, but nope, he got slapped with charges, leaving everyone wondering why the law took so long. Even with the massive scandal, Hyundai got off totally tangent-free. Meanwhile, the Wukong workers hit the jackpot, getting upgraded to amazing new jobs backed by OTK. And as for Sokbom, He finally got into a top-tier hospital to treat that head injury. Later, Jinwoo paid a visit to his recovering uncle, who was beyond grateful. Jinwoo's mom also tagged along, offering comfort to the uncle's wife because she had been through the exact same struggle. And of course, our emotional boy Taeku is crying the absolute loudest. Then, party time finally came around. To everyone's shock, even Chase Southwell showed up, which felt like an awesome holiday bonus. Right after, Jinwoo gets a surprise call from the ex-president of Hyundai. The man is ready to join the team, but only on one condition: he is bringing his entire old crew along. He explains they all got wrongfully fired just like him. And trust me, these guys are absolute legends in the industry. Jinwoo signs them up instantly. I mean, why pass up a competitor's stupid mistake handing you elite talent? Talk about a win for OTK. As the new year starts, Michael Lee announces all their major issues are cleared. But honestly, they are growing so fast, they still need more hands. Michael also points out their legal team is outsourced, suggesting it is time to build their own powerhouse department. Jinwoo agrees, dropping the news that Hyundai's former crew is joining. That is a massive upgrade. Next up, Michael says they need some serious public relations work since the company still has haters. Don't worry, Jinwoo already has the ultimate guy. He calls up his trusted old friend, Young Gui-hong, offering him the crown of PR chief. Without missing a beat, he accepts the role, ready to work some magic. Then, Jinwoo rewards Henry with a major promotion to planning lead, thanking him for his loyalty. But instead of celebrating, Henry actually hesitates. He wonders if it is right to accept when his ultimate goal is to run Golden Gate anyway. Jinwoo knows they will split eventually, but wants him by his side for now. Until that day arrives, Henry is staying put. Finally, Jinwoo locks in his ultimate protector, hiring the legendary Lee Chil-jin from X-Cop to run his personal security team. The security expert confesses this is a bit different from his usual gig, but working with Jinwoo is just too much fun to pass up. Boom! Dream team assembled. Park Sang-yop laughs, saying he expected a super chill January, only for it to turn into absolute chaos. Jinwoo promises things will calm down once everyone settles into their roles. Then, he drops a bombshell. He and Taeku are heading to America for Donald Trump's big inauguration. Taeku instantly panics and begs to stay behind, but Jinwoo is not having it. No excuses, buddy. This is strictly business, not a holiday. Soon, the dynamic duo lands in Detroit for a high-stakes meeting at the brand-new Caros headquarters. Sean drops some bad news. Local dealerships are furious. Sales are plummeting, and they are demanding cash incentives to survive. But Jinwoo expected this exact situation. He was the one who intentionally choked Chrysler's sales to push all resources into Caros Tech. Sadly, this move is absolutely crushing their independent dealers. If they do not fix this, those dealers might jump ship to competitors. Even worse, they might have to shut down the factories to prevent an insane oversupply of unsold cars. Going online like Tesla sounds cool, but it will not fix the real problem. Jinwoo is playing the long game here. Their upcoming factory will double production capacity, meaning they desperately need physical showrooms. Abandoning traditional sales now would destroy their future and seriously trigger Trump's blue-collar voter base. So, Jinwoo drops the ultimate master plan: stop manufacturing Chrysler cars entirely. It is time to transition completely to Caros. He reminds the team they only bought Chrysler for its factories, not the outdated name. The dying brand was always meant to vanish. Forget mourning Chrysler. Their mission is to build electric vehicles so mind-blowingly advanced they make Tesla look ancient. That is how you win the game. Even if they lose some sellers now, future buyers will climb mountains just to get a Caros. With the meeting done, Jinwoo tells Taeku they can fly home right after the inauguration. But Taeku smiles, revealing a call from Henry's powerful grandfather. He ordered them to ditch their commercial tickets because he's got a special ride waiting for them. Soon, the crew takes off for Washington. Sean tags along, enjoying the insane luxury of the Golden Gate Chief's private jet. Taeku heavily agrees, shuddering at the memory of cramped economy flights. Jinwoo switches focus, asking how the public actually feels about Donald Trump. Sean notes the Rust Belt loves him, but the rest of the country? Not so much. Taeku just prays the country unites after the election, or their business is in deep trouble. Sean adds that Caros is rushing to launch their smart gas car this very year. It is packed with self-driving tech, but building full electric vehicles requires a battery partner. Sadly, almost every top battery maker is already locked into exclusive contracts. To make matters worse, battery manufacturers are terrified of investing in electric cars. Tesla only survived because they got incredibly lucky with Panasonic. Jinwoo compares these stubborn giants to Kodak clinging to film. While everyone else went digital, Kodak died. Jinwoo is not letting Caros suffer that fate. They must buy their own battery company immediately. because the electric revolution is coming fast. Once they touch down in Washington, Tae-koo is completely starstruck by all the global power players. Jinwoo even spots Hillary Clinton, assuming she is just posing for the cameras. But wait, she actually recognizes Jinwoo and walks straight toward him. She greets him warmly, admitting her crazy campaign schedule kept them from meeting properly until now. After apologizing for the long delay, she offers her congratulations on his massive achievements. Then, Donald Trump takes the stage, roaring his famous slogan, "America First." He vows to revive the nation from within by generating massive industrial growth and jobs. He also drops plans to slash trade with China and pull out of major trade agreements. Even agreements with South Korea are getting a complete rewrite. Jinwoo sweat drops, knowing he helped fund this guy. If Korea gets crushed by these policies, he is cooked. Following the ceremony, Jinwoo secures a private chat with Trump. He praises the speech as incredibly bold and clear, which the new president absolutely loves. But Jinwoo knows the real challenge. Insane taxes and labor costs drove factories straight to Mexico. To fix this, Trump promises massive tax breaks, and Jinwoo is right there, ready to invest heavily on American soil. In exchange, Trump vows to smash any annoying regulations blocking his path, telling Jinwoo to call his personal line whenever. It is a perfect win-win deal between two ruthless businessmen. This means Karos has an absolute green light to dominate the market. Trump might behave more like a CEO than a president, but honestly, that is perfect for Jinwoo's empire. Back at their luxury suite, Tae-koo mentions Sean took off for California. Right then, the phone rings. The front desk reveals a high-profile visitor is waiting downstairs to discuss the L6. Tae-koo instantly loses his mind, sweating bullets, thinking it is a corporate hitman from Samsung. Jinwoo just laughs it off, knowing he is perfectly safe here, and tells them to send the guest up. And who walks through the door? Lim Jin-young, the actual vice president of Samsung. Tae-koo freezes, instantly recognizing his famous face from those dramatic national television broadcasts. Those broken L6 phones. Jinwoo calls him out for being so incredibly blunt, but Lim Jin-young just shrugs, saying the internet is way meaner. He apologized for just dropping by, out of nowhere, but hearing they were both in the United States, he just had to shoot his shot. Cutting straight to the chase, Lim Jin-young reveals his company has a division called Samsung SB, which makes high-tech batteries for electric vehicles. He asks if OTK wants to invest. Jinwoo instantly tells him to get inside because this is a golden opportunity he is not about to pass up. At their meeting, Lim Jin-young admits the L6 disaster shocked him, but there are no hard feelings. Honestly, he thinks it actually helped both sides survive. He then casually brings up that he and Jinwoo actually went to the exact same university. Jinwoo already knew he was basically a campus legend for throwing scholarship money around. Tae-koo chimes in, saying his older sister also went there, creating an instant connection. In Korea, having shared history like this makes business deals way smoother, instantly breaking the ice. Lim Jin-young takes it even further, saying he basically considers them besties already. Then he drops the comedy and gets dead serious. He needs their help. His father is gravely ill with only 2 weeks left, and the family has known for a while. Surprisingly, Lim Jin-young is pretty chill about it. Death comes for everyone, even the ultra-rich, so he is prepared. His real nightmare is his family because he knows they are about to throw hands over the inheritance. The main Samsung business is safe, but this SB division is a total mess. Jinwoo recognizes the name immediately as the one behind the L6 battery. So, what is the drama? Lim Jin-young explains that his clueless younger brother and greedy mother are trying to hijack the division. To make it even worse, their rivals at Hyundai are also trying to buy them out. Lim Jin-young is terrified that SB will fall right into their competitors' hands. Tae-koo literally groans. Oh great, Hyundai again. He is getting seriously tired of fighting the exact same villains. Jinwoo asks what the deal is between Samsung and Hyundai. Well, turns out Lim Jin-young's aunt actually owns Hyundai. Talk about a crazy family reunion. He admits his plan to sell the division to friendly allies could easily get blocked by angry internal shareholders like his brother, not to mention the outsiders. Tae-koo asks if this is just family drama. Well, you and I are about to see it get way more complicated. Lim Jin-young's brother is marrying Han Chan-yu-wong, the vice chair of Hyundai, linking them forever. And the absolute worst part? The president of South Korea is involved, and he wants to sabotage this. Jinwoo puts the puzzle together. Lim Jin-young's father holds all the power, but his death will shatter the empire among greedy heirs. External rivals will tear them apart, while some heirs actively help the enemy. Lim Jin-young is basically the lone warrior standing in their way. He cannot fight this war solo, which is why he came running to OTK. With them backing him, he actually has a fighting chance. The plan is for OTK to buy a massive majority stake in SB before anyone else can touch it. Jinwoo runs the numbers. Just 10% of SB is worth over 1 trillion, and that does not even guarantee total control. He points out this is an insanely expensive gamble and asks why Lim Jinyong chose OTK of all people. He admits he needs a powerful, loyal partner who will not stab him in the back. As he says this, Jinwoo suddenly gets a mystical vision of his eagle. That is a massive sign telling him he needs to secure this deal, no matter the price. So, Lim Jinyong makes his final pitch. By teaming up, they could revolutionize the entire car industry, not just batteries. He explains that Samsung desperately wants into the automotive space, and since OTK is already investing there, it is a perfect match. Taiku instantly connects the dots. Samsung manufactures the absolute best smartphone chips, so bringing that technology into smart cars would be a guaranteed blockbuster. Jinwoo is totally on board. He can buy batteries from any random supplier, but for high-end microchips, Samsung is king. Jinwoo asks point-blank if Lim Jinyong trusts them 100%. The response is brutally honest. No way, because investors are notoriously untrustworthy. But he knows Jinwoo despises Hyundai, which is why he came knocking. Since Jinwoo can literally see the future, he knows this is the play. He accepts. Later, loyal ally asks Lee Jinyong if the meeting was a success. He warns that it is too early to celebrate. Sure, they got a partner, but his own family is busy plotting with their worst enemies. His right-hand man, Kim Yong-soo, sighs that money is a toxic poison, and greedy people always crave more. Lim Jinyang knows this all too well. He just hopes he is ready for the coming storm. Meanwhile, Taiku asks if he is truly okay helping one giant empire crush another. Jinwoo explains he does not actually hate monopolies. He just wants to break up their absolute control. Besides, very few global companies possess Samsung's insane level of technology and production power. Suddenly, Park Sang-yap calls him up. He saw Jinwoo on television at the Trump inauguration and demands to know when he is finally returning. Jinwoo explains his plans changed because some massive unexpected drama popped up. He promises to fill him in later, but drops a direct order. Secretly buy up every single share of Samsung SB you can. Do not let anyone find out. Shortly after, Jinwoo is back at the OTK headquarters, gathering the entire team for an emergency meeting. He reveals his secret hookup with Lim Jinyong in the United States and explains the epic plan to seize Samsung SB. Park Sang-yap finally understands that bizarre order to buy random shares. Hunu notes that Samsung can provide massive electronic parts alongside batteries, making this an incredibly genius play, but she knows Jinwoo has a hidden motive. He grins and confirms it. His ultimate goal is to block Hyundai from touching SB. He asks if Golden Gate has their back. Hunu says they are in, but warns that cold hard cash won't be enough this time. They must somehow convince every single existing shareholder to surrender their stakes. Park Sang-ya points out another massive hurdle. The current government is openly rooting for a Samsung and Hyundai marriage, thinking it boosts the country. Hyunju agrees, asking Jinwoo how on earth he plans to bypass the politicians. Ellie chimes in that buying over 5% of any company forces a public disclosure, meaning the government will spot them instantly. Hyunju figures their only real hope is to buy up everything in one giant swoop, but that is nearly impossible with so many small owners. Jinwoo says he will contact Keros and asks the room for wild ideas. Henry suggests using multiple different brokerages to hide their tracks from regulators. Meanwhile, Lim Jinyong's father is lying in his hospital bed. He sees a vision of his humble past, starting as a simple factory worker and climbing the ranks to lead the nation's absolute biggest empire. Knowing his son is ready to take over brings him total peace as he takes his very last breath. The doctors frantically try to save him, but he is already gone. The final duty is breaking the news to the family. The media leaks it instantly, sending shockwaves nationwide. Lim Jinyong realizes his father is officially gone, and, with his passing, the only glue holding Samsung together has completely vanished. What do you think happens next?